Now broadcasting from the Next Gen Conservative Studio in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report with Sam Whitfield.
Good to be here.
Holy shit, we are finally live. And yes, like Shmuley said, it's good to be here.
I was as always just jamming out to your intro. That that goes hard.
So good.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
It's much better than Marsh's intro.
Yeah, listen, everyone's doing like the 80s vaporwave thing, so instead of doing like 80s vaporwave, I decided to do 80s new wave.
I think it's
right.
I
But
think
the aesthetic is much more like 2000s era conservative talk radio, which I appreciate.
Well, no. So the interesting thing about that is, Rush Limbaugh, when he was on the radio, had the Pretenders.
Yep.
Doing he took a song from the Pretenders. So I hired a guy on Fiverr a while ago and asked him to basically do like a Pretenders style, like, riff, and that's what he came up with. So
well worth money, well spent.
Yeah.
I love that riff, and whoever did the voiceover killed it too. That voiceover goes hard.
Yeah, the only better intro is Pod Awful. I mean, that one just sticks in your head. That is a mind worm.
Well, in Pod Awful, his graphics too are like amazing. Like he has like a full on like intro.
And he's had a great studio and great intros for so fucking long. See, that's the thing, is he's come into prominence in like the sector or whatever in the last couple of years. But me and Shmuley have been watching him a long fucking time. My favorite Pod Awful, probably one he doesn't even think in his favorite shows, is actually when he interviewed Douglas Levison, who's better known as the trumpet fight guy.
So amazing.
Because not only is a trumpet fight guy, and if you haven't seen the video, it's hilarious. It's this guy, he's very short and like super duper like stereotypically Jewish, and he just starts flipping out on a guy playing a trumpet, and he's like, "You're flat, you have no talent, you suck." And he just
trained classically, I'm trained contemporarily. I am trained.
I walked Bob Dylan on stage. Who the fuck are you? And then,
so great.
It's such a classic clip, but Pod Awful got the guy on and did a full-on interview, and it turns out he's also batshit fucking crazy. Thinks he was abducted by aliens like 5,000 times. He believes that he can do yoga so well that he can like levitate off the ground. If you haven't seen Pod Awful interviews Douglas Levison, the trumpet fight guy, that is a Pod Awful show worth watching. It if that's your first Pod Awful, you won't be disappointed. Also, black people wash their chicken.
Yeah, you should go watch those instead of this show.
Yeah, watch that instead of us, because we suck. No we're great. Well, he's not going to talk about the news. Eventually, we will. Maybe.
Well, I mean, Pod Awful's whole bit is he thinks that politics is lame. So.
He's not entirely wrong in that how people deal with politics online is pretty cringe most of the time.
I agree.
But
and we don't do sensational. Well, I mean, we do sometimes, but I mean,
speaking of not doing anything sensational, can I just give a big shout out to good friend of mine, good friend of the show, Dick Molesterson, with the launch of the True Shine brand mead this last week, and it has just blown up all over Twitter. It's great to see. It's so popular. You can check it out for yourself. The website will be coming soon at trueandshine.com. .lgbt. And yes, that's a real website,
You know,
and you can check it out right now, actually.
I just
You
wanted
know,
to say, Sam, that I've never sensationalized neat news. That reporting is flat, and that is my reporting, and that the rest of my content is commentary.
no, you're a very honest and thorough and professional journalist when it comes to neat news. But you want to know what's not neat is this new Twitter CEO. What the fuck is going on there, Elon? I thought you were Mr. Anti-woke.
Right. So, yeah,
So
this woman that he picked, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I looked into her background, as a lot of people did immediately, and yeah, she's very much on the woke side of politics. But why would he pick her? I can tell you why. It's very tough to find a non-woke person as well versed in advertising and monetization as she is. That's probably why he picked her. I'm not going to say that makes it a right choice, but that seems to be the reasoning. However, there's an interesting theory that like the Blue Anon people have, like the left conspiracy people, and I find it hilarious. And that is that they're talking about what they call the glass cliff. Have you heard of the glass cliff?
no.
Yeah, so it's the opposite of the glass ceiling, apparently. That it's obviously the glass ceiling is, oh, women don't get put in positions of power. The glass cliff is, well, but if they do, they get put in times of change and crisis. They're set up to fail. And so the left thinks that he's setting this woman up to fail so that he can justify bringing in somebody more conservative.
I think that is a phenomena, right? That sort of happens. Usually, though, it would be internal to the company. They would promote somebody who is like, middle management or whatever to be CEO, and then they get their golden parachutes, and then the company crashes. However, the idea that Twitter is anywhere near that is kind of ridiculous.
Right.
And I mean, under his time as CEO, the company's added new revenue sources. It has cut costs dramatically, and is going to continue to expand. I think. Sure, if she starts going back on the view of the company, maybe he can kick this broad out. But I think that she might be a capable person.
Well, I mean the amusing thing. So I have two things to say on that. One, if the glass cliff theory is true, like that would be hilarious. B, I think what a lot of people, at least in kind of some of the accounts I follow, don't understand is like Elon's not leaving Twitter per se. He's just taking like a
He's
more
gonna
like a
he's
not
gonna
running.
still stay on as the CTO, Chief Technical Officer, as well as he still owns the thing and he could fire her at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, so it's not like.
But why? What evidence do we have that she's really that woke? I mean, I saw that she held some position at like the WEF, but I'll tell you one thing. I mean, the WEF has done well in getting a lot of people who are in business on board, and their stuff would sound good to somebody who doesn't have like a real firm understanding of economics in that like more abstract sense, right?
Right.
Well,
Especially when that person specializes in the thing he most needed for the website, which is monetization and advertising.
Yeah.
Well, she also, what a lot of the like right wing, and I mean I'm conservative too. When I mean right wing, I mean like crazy QAnon people. What they're freaked out about was because I guess she worked for Google, and Google is like
You're
evil.
Yeah, you're going to be
Which-
hard pressed to find somebody at that level of the tech industry who hasn't worked with a company that they find problematic. The thing about those
Yeah.
kind of people, they find Microsoft problematic, they find everything problematic. And so, like, it would be almost impossible to find somebody outside of that world that's also like specialized in. I'm telling you, that's what he was looking for: monetization and ads, which also means whether glass cliff theory or not, this is a temporary thing. I think this is a transition thing, and she's coming in specific. Like, they do this all the time. It's like he said, the golden parachute. They come in, they do one very specific thing. Maybe they get held accountable for something else, and that's why they move out. Or maybe it's just like, okay, my time is done, and we'll move somebody else into the position. But look, I'll say this: if Twitter starts getting worse, I'm not going to be charitable to this woman.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if Twitter starts getting worse, then I'll just cancel my Twitter Blue subscription.
Right.
Then, I mean,
And that's the thing. Look at who's got the fucking check marks now. It's people like us who are putting money in Twitter's pocket. So I don't think Elon is going to purposely piss in our mouths. I understand that, like, people want to have. It's the same thing a lot of people say about Trump, or they say they want Judas. Like, people actually actively want a betrayer to get mad about. And that's, I think, another reason why they're quick to assume anything that somebody does is traitorous to their cause or whatever, because it's a constant. This is the problem with online politics. It's a constant purity spiral, edgelord pissing contest.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's not just, I mean, it is that, but it's also like there always needs to be a good guy and a bad guy per se.
Right.
And
and the line is very thin.
Yeah.
You can be the good guy today and the bad guy tomorrow, and that's what we're seeing.
I think it's interesting that this show sort of seems to have more nuance than most right-wing opinion podcasts, right? Like, we had Kurt Doolittle on. That interview was great. We talked about Bill Gates, right? And it's like, we're actually being charitable to that. And once again, I hate to kind of say, oh, well, she's not woke, because she very well might be. I don't know. I haven't read her Twitter account, right? I don't know what opinions she has, but to find somebody who's in a position where they can just become fucking CEO and that you trust them and they have experience and all these things, once again, her having held some position at the WEF does not necessarily mean that she's not going to fulfill this. I think people think the WEF is some tight-knit organization full of people who are all lockstep in it, rather than a giant org.
Some people think that the WAF is literally like I don't know if you've ever seen like the X-Files, but like,
yeah, the cigar smoking.
I don't watch pornography.
Okay. It's the cigar smoking old men in a back room plotting everything, but that's literally like there are organizations that you could say that about, and it seems plausible. The WEF is not that. I understand that they've put out opinions that really fucking worry people.
No, the WEF is the example of the people up on stage openly declaring that they're doing things.
Right.
And publishing white papers that they're doing things. They're not the shadow hand. Yeah.
It's bad, but it's not what people think it is.
No, they're not. They're not the shadow hand, but that's what people think it is.
Right. And that's the problem, is because the reality is that there is no shadow hand. They don't need one, because they put out the white papers telling you what to do. And people know what the fuck to do. This is the thing the left does and that the right doesn't do. They don't need a central organizing force, because they say, hey, guys, George Soros will write an article on his website and it'll say, we need to elect a lot of prosecutors so that we can get criminal justice reform. Okay. Is there a back room where they all talk about that? No, they read his fucking thing and they start running people as fucking prosecutors. It's
Right.
It doesn't
right,
need any more
exactly.
than that. They all have the same base belief structure. It's worse. This is the problem. It's worse than the smoky back room. It's
Well,
way worse than that.
Well, and they converge on the same kind of opinion. If we look at like the operation of the machine, right? If you're some unassuming midwit journalist, right, and you get a new prestigious job, are you gonna like risk coming up with fucking half-baked shitty ideas off the top of your head, or are you gonna look and see some other person wrote an article about gamers being misogynists, and then so you're gonna split out an article that says gamers are misogynists? You know why? Because that's the best way to keep your position.
Right.
That's the best way.
A lot of these woke journos, that's exactly it. And then at a certain point, they realized that they were getting lots and lots of clicks on these hate bait articles. So they write the most absurd thing they could think of because they're not actually getting clicks from left wingers anymore. They're getting only hate clicks. This is why Kotaku, this is why Vice, this is why Polygon are going out of fucking business.
But my point
The
is
hate
just
clicks have dried up.
This is how you can have a decentralized convergence to an ideology.
Right.
They just are following incentives, and a good analogy is the crab. You see all these distinct species throughout time basically take the basic form of a crab. And so that's what you see with all of these like leftist ideologies, is that they all kind of become the same soup. You know, they all become the form of the crab. And that's the sort of woke amalgamation. Whether you're a feminist, whether you're a gay activist, whether you're a BLM activist, right? You all end up believing the exact same thing. And the journos end up believing the same thing.
Well,
and the ideas you're parroting were created by the academics, but the people parroting it don't fucking know.
Well, and
Well,
that's
and
the thing,
then
is they get taught this practice in college. So like they know the basic theory. This is the difference between a lot of conservatives and leftists, is like their understanding of where their politics comes from like book reading, like learning at college. They're taught what the basics of Marxist theory is, what critical theory is. They're taught this stuff. Now, not all of them, but then they go out into society, and particularly, like, how do they get Antifa? Well, they find the dregs, the drug addicts, who tend to be anti-establishment anyway, and then they just feed them, oh, anarcho-communism, fight the system, fight the power. You're real special. They pay them to go out and do this shit. That's like not even a conspiracy theory. It's just true. They get paid to go out there. Same thing with Black Lives Matter. The Black Lives Matter one is interesting because a lot of the black people that got out and like marched in a lot of that don't know any of this shit. But what they know, and this is something that we have to fucking admit and address on the right, is that cops beat their ass for no reason.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Cops beat my ass for no reason. Cops beating people's ass is a problem. And so average hood motherfucker is like, yeah, I don't want my ass to get beat either. My life matters. And he gets out there and he protests. And then from being in proximity to these people, he picks up the slogans, he picks up the ideas, he knows what he's doing.
right. I mean,
I was just trying to describe how something can, how a consensus ideology can emerge from a decentralized system where people are just following incentives.
Sure, but I'm just going down the rabbit hole.
well,
And that's what also makes them weak, because a lot of the people in this sort of system don't understand how the larger system works and thus can be subverted easily.
no, I mean, listen, I knew a lot of like, I mean, I hate to say this, but like, I don't know how else to describe. Like in college, I knew a lot of, kids who were, very far to the left, but like they were like well-meaning in the sense that like they thought that what they were doing was, like good. Like they thought themselves like being like good. Like they weren't they weren't like some of these other Antifa people who were like, oh, we're just gonna go and fuck shit up. And
But this is the thing. You were on the point there. Everybody's the hero of their own story. Nobody's the villain.
right.
And so
Right.
like you have to keep that in mind when dealing with these people, is that they think that their cause is righteous and just and pure and good. And that means that if you're opposing, like, they do see us as evil.
Oh
Just
yeah,
flat out. And it doesn't come from a place of disingenuousness either. They honestly do think that because we're opposed to what they're pushing, that means that we're evil.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because like I've actually been like, people have actually said like, wow, you're actually like not an evil conservative. And to me, like that's like, so when I first heard that, that was like so weird, because it's like, well, of course I'm not. Like most conservatives aren't, but your only exposure is to like the character, is to like whatever character or whatever edited clip of Tucker Carlson or Rush
Yeah.
Limbaugh is to make
Right.
them look weird.
Like, and the only evil conservative I really can think of is myself.
Right. Yeah. Well, I exclude you from that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like no, it all seriousness. And this is the other thing that like Republicans, especially on college campuses, I hate to say it, like need to kind of stop doing, is the one thing that's weird is like when you go into a room, it's just like the LGBT thing. It's weird when you go into a room and your introduction is, hi, I'm Sam. I'm a young conservative guy. Right? Rather than
I'm
it just,
Sam, I'm into blah 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 blah, like movies or mute. Like that's how it used to. I was actually
yeah.
just making a joke, like a bit of a meme about this recently, is where it's like millennials be like, I don't like labels, I'm just me. And Zoomers be like, I am bi, cis, hit, fucking queer, trans, communist, anarcho, fucking da 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 da. They have like 50,000 very specific labels about who they are. This is a Zoomer thing. I'm going to tell you right now. Anybody over 30,
it is.
Like, and that's why we find it so laughable. You find a lot of millennials who are laughing. Now, there's millennials getting in on the act. Of course there is, right? But like by and large, most millennials, we grew up in the era of like, you know, we all went to school. Like, unlike previous generations, there was much more integration in like suburban areas, right? So many more millennials would have gone to school with people of other races than previous generations, like Gen X. So like, we grew up in what we consider like racist. Like, who the fuck would be racist, right? That's very common among millennials. Like, why would we even think about that? We all live together, we go to school together, da 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 da. And the other thing was like labels. Like the only labels you would get in millennial culture is like, you're a goth kid, you're a skater, you're like, that's it. You wouldn't find a 21-year-old millennial who would list you off their pronouns, their political affiliations, and their sexuality in their bio before, like, they introduce themselves with a 5-minute speech of all the things that they are. And you have to remember it. Nobody would do that. This is a Zoomer thing. Sorry, Zoomers. I'm not trying to shit on you. It's just, that's true.
No, the weird thing is, like, yeah, when we were, when I was growing up, like nobody ever really talked like race or ethnicity or even religion. It was like what social group were you into? Like that what social group you were in mattered way more than whatever, like,
right.
Honestly, like the racism, the race conversation didn't really even like start until like I was already a senior in high school, which is when the whole Trayvon Martin thing happened. Like,
I would say even that didn't push it. It was Ferguson that really kicked it all off.
Yeah,
You know,
no, I would agree, but like just kind of
Trayvon
in
would have
my
been the
personal
first time
experience.
the Trayvon probably would have been the first time most people encountered any of these like arguments about racism.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But like Ferguson is when for even more, right? And of course, yeah, Obama is a black president. See, that's another thing. Most millennials, if you would have talked to them in the late, in the 20 teens, right before Trump, they'd have been like, "Oh yeah, I voted for Obama because, hope and change, and I don't care that he's black. That doesn't matter. I voted for." But it's also cool that he's the first black president, right? Like they were all
Well,
about. They weren't like millennials weren't actively like, "Oh, I hate this guy because he's racist." I was like, "I hate this guy because he's Obama. I hate this guy because he's a Democrat." Also, the biggest one, and a lot of people forget this, Obama won because he won the millennial vote. What's the biggest reason he won that? And this is important. He promised to end both the wars, and he lied.
So what I was told by a lot of my friends was that, like, voting for Obama would be the final step. I'm not kidding. This is one of my friends said. Voting for Obama would be the final step in eliminating racism in America. Now,
That's very common among boomers. That wasn't because like millennials didn't see it that way. It was just like, well, yeah, it'd be cool to have a black president. And he said he's gonna. The war is important though. I don't want to just skip past that because that affected the millennial generation more than any other generation.
Yeah,
so,
no,
like,
you're
as
right.
a guy that watched like 2 funerals of soldiers that died in Iraq, somebody saying they were going to end the wars was an appeal. Now, I didn't end up voting for Obama, but like it made me think about it. It made me think about voting for a Democrat for the first time in my life. I'm glad I didn't because he's a lying sack of shit that expanded both those wars. But when you've watched your friends come home in body bags, when like everybody knows somebody in their high school that went overseas. If they don't know somebody that died, they know somebody that went and fought, right? And they know that a lot of these guys come back fucked up. They come back with fucking serious injuries. They come back with CTE. They come back with PTSD out the ass, where now if you're shooting off fireworks, they're fucking freaking out in their house. Like, we experienced that. And even though I didn't go and fight, I was rejected. I did sign up. It affected all of us. And so here was a guy, first of all, black guy, a lot of, yes, there was a segment of people that were like, yes, this could end racism or at least show that we've come so far. And also hope and change, because you remember we were in 2008 was the collapse. So that had everything to do with the election. So hope and change to a lot of us meant economic. Fun joke, right? And then I'm going to end the wars. All of those things combined, he won by a fucking landslide in my demographic. It's not a surprise, right? But then when he didn't make anything better, and then when he didn't end the wars, and then we were in a recession his entire presidency, and the hope and change was a lie.
I remember one of the things like in 08 was in I guess this kind of like when along with ending the wars, but he was gonna be the one to like close down Gitmo, and also to like I remember
that was a campaign. That was a campaign promise, by the way.
Yeah, closing Gitmo and reforming the CIA and the intelligence agencies.
To be fair, he did that, and we're seeing the results of it.
I mean, to me, they seem a lot worse, but
right, he reformed.
Maybe not worse.
Like you laugh or you think I'm being sarcastic, but that they put that deep state apparatus in place. Obama had so many federal judges appointed under his. Now Trump had more, which is great. All of these people were Obama appointees. He put so many people in. They wanted to run. That's why Hillary winning was so important to them, because they wanted to continue and wipe out every last vestige of opposition to the left-wing deep state. so that they would have control essentially forever.
You
And they would have gotten away
right.
with it if it wasn't for that pesky orange man.
You are right, Max. They reformed the CIA. That Obama did, in fact, reform the intelligence agencies. What I was going to say, though, is that's a good point, but that he reformed the intelligence agencies. It's just not in the way that we were intending for him to reform.
Right. It was a fucking we were hoodwinked, bamboozled, scammed, right?
Yeah.
Taken advantage of, lied to, disrespected, shit in our mouth, piss in our mouth, like all of that. Right. It was a scam. It was a lie, just like everything he promised. And then they can't figure out why so many people supported Trump who had previously voted for Obama. Gee, I wonder. All he did was lie and make everything worse. And then suddenly racism was a thing and everybody was sexist and everything is homophobic. And, you have to point all of it out. They can't figure out why the average person went from one to the other, but it's so fucking obvious. And they know, but they can't actually say it. They can't be like, oh, well, it's happening because of all of this shit, because that gives up the game.
Well, and then like a lot. So a lot of normies were like, I'm not a misogynist. I'm not a racist. But then, I mean, a lot of them were also like, yeah, I think it's time to get like an actual businessman in there.
Yeah.
And why not Trump? And some of them were like, yeah, I don't really like the way he says things, but even so, I don't care. It's time to be a non-politician.
You won't find that very common among millennials, though. That's again, I think you're kind of conflating boomers and millennials, which is
I'm
a bit of a stretch.
I'm more conflating boomers and zoomers in this case with each other.
Well, yeah, it's just like millennials were like, I mean, the ones that voted for him all found his shit funny, right? Like millennials were the fucking tip of the spear, so to speak, of the meme war of 2016. It wasn't Zoomers. Zoomers were Zoomers were still pissing the bed. You know what I mean? Like it was us. We did that. But like, and we've got complacent, and this is why 2024 we need to do the thing that it says right here and take America back. And nobody's gonna do it but us. By the way, if you're a millennial, just know you're in the biggest voting demographic in the country now. Boomers have lost. As of 2024, the major voting demographic will be, for this foreseeable future until Gen Alpha is in their 30s, is going to be millennials. We are going to turn. They want to talk about the Zoomers for Biden. They're going to turn this election only if millennials are complacent. And specifically millennials who aren't ideologically on the left, because a lot of college millennials are, right? Obviously, the avocado toast millennials exist. But the problem is when you frame our generation like that and you leave motherfuckers like me out, you're making a mistake. You've forgotten about the kind of like the rock and roll metalhead, fucking hip hop, anti-establishment, a lot of which used to be, liberals in the sense that they watched The Daily Show, right? They weren't liberals.
Yeah.
But they laughed at Jon Stewart, right? And that made people confused to think that they were on that side. And a lot of people were surprised that millennials flipped from Obama to Trump.
Well,
it's that they didn't flip from Obama to Romney. And it's like, well, yeah, Romney's really exciting, right? Come on. That worst candidate the GOP has ever run. And I include John McCain in that.
Romney, as far as candidates go, Romney was like the Sean Hannity of presidential candidates, like just very milquetoast, very unexciting. And yeah, we will get to Sean Hannity taking over for Tucker in a bit. Wow, big, big like earth-shattering decision, guys. Not,
It is
but
the correct decision for Fox News. I can tell you why. Because who that's not over the age of 60 is going to be watching them on cable TV anyway.
yeah, that's true.
And that demographic likes Sean Hannity. That's who's been watching him.
So here is one question I kind of have. I know we didn't talk about this before the show, but I mean Rush Limbaugh was a baby boomer, obviously. He was 70 when he died. But Rush, unlike Hannity and Levin, Rush had a lot of pull with millennials. Max, and I have my theories, but I'm just curious to know why do you think
same reason as Trump. It's that populism. He talked about kitchen table issues mostly. Rush would talk about foreign policy, Rush would talk about war, but if you actually listen to Rush on a semi-regular basis, most of what you were exposed to was talking about the border and immigration, which no mainstream conservative prior to Trump really addressed. John McCain, and Bush tried to do an immigration reform bill in 2000. I want to say 2006, and reform meant amnesty. That's been and the problem is we go back to Reagan, and if there was one thing that Reagan did that I will fucking not defend and in fact shit on him till the end of time, it was amnesty. Because now it seems to be the neocon boomer. Oh, that's the only way to deal with immigration. And Rush wasn't saying that at all. Rush was talking about we need a wall. Rush was talking about we need better H-1B visas rather than what we have. Rush was talking about all this kind of shit. He was talking about the recession. I remember even as a kid listening to Rush with my granddad. Does anybody remember they had the yellow ribbons for war and everything, and Rush did the dollar bill ribbons for the deficit? We should bring that back because the deficit ain't looking too good.
No, it gets worse every year.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get myself a fucking dollar bill pin for the next show, or maybe the one after that. I don't use cash very much, but I will get a damn. I guess because of inflation, it'd have to be like a $20 bill now.
Yeah, seriously.
But no, he spoke to that kind of populism. The same reason Ron Paul resonated with so many millennials, right? There's a populist. I want, I'll tell you why immigration mattered to millennials so much at that time specifically. I have personal stories as to why. I worked at a high-tech manufacturing company that I won't name, who we developed LEDs before they were a thing. Now LEDs are everywhere, right? We were one of the first 10 or so companies to get them to market. And so if you used a cell phone in the 2000s, I probably made some of the chips in it. However, they sold out to China, and they brought in Chinese nationals, and I was told I should train them, and I did. I thought, oh, we're open. I didn't know they had sold out to China. Oh, we're opening a fucking Chinese branch. All right, I'll train the Ling Ling over here. I trained them on my equipment to do my job, and then they sent that equipment with Ling Ling back to fucking China, and I got a pink slip. Then I needed a fucking job. Now I know, low status. But I needed to fucking work, and I needed it fast, so I went to day laboring, right? You guys know what day laboring is?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So for anybody that doesn't know, day laboring is like temp work. You work today, you get paid today. It's shit work, garbage. And I walked in, and I'm like, look, I have a record. I have all this manual labor. I also have all these tech skills. I also like this, that, and the other thing, computers, whatever you need me to do. And they were like, well, those people are going to get first preference because they come every day. They didn't want to say it was because those people are illegals and they can pay them less. But that's what it was. I walk outside, it's all Guatemalans. I was the only white guy there, and I got rejected, and every single one of them got sent out on a job. So how am I supposed to feel about when they say they took our jobs? They use that to mock us. They actually fucking took my job multiple times. That's not the only 2 stories I have. I have a fucking multitude of them. They actually took my fucking job.
Well, no, Max, you just need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, young man.
I did, but in spite of it, whereas like day labor could have been a great transition for a guy that just got laid. I was like 20. I think I was 20 years old at the time. I worked at a fucking really big tech firm, and I got laid off, and I needed fucking money, right? Bills don't stop coming because your job got sent to China. But, oh, you can't fucking have this transition. Oh, you got to go to the unemployment office. I didn't want to go to the unemployment office. I wanted to go to the day labor office, but I couldn't. You know, another one is I worked at a 7-Eleven for 2 years. It got sold to 2 guys who called themselves Sam and Mike, but their real names were I'm not even kidding, Muhammad and Saddam from Pakistan. And of course, what do you think they did? They immediately fired me and hired a bunch of their relatives so that they could chain migrate them over here. Right? I'm not saying it was a glamorous job, but it was my job. And fucking and this happens at time. So is it any wonder that when Trump comes in and he says we need to do something about the immigration problem, that everybody is like, first of all, the left is going to be appalled, and so are the neocons, because they love cheap labor. They don't give a fuck about these immigrants. They love cheap labor.
Yeah. Well, that was my point with
and now votes. But at the time, it was just cheap labor. Now it's votes too.
Well, and that was kind of my point with facetiously bringing up the pull yourself up by your bootstraps comment, because the boomer conservatives are the one who the boomer conservatives or the neocons are the ones who always say shit like that, like, oh, you just need to put in elbow grease, whatever. And then they support policies like, cheaper, using illegals for cheaper labor, right?
Can I take an unpopular position here?
Yes, this is the Whitfield report. We love unpopular opinions.
E-Verify would screw me, not the illegals. So DeSantis pushing this E-Verify bill in Florida is going to harm job-seeking Americans. It's not going to harm illegals, because illegals, by and large, work under the table. And they're going to continue to work under the table while you have to file all your paperwork with the government and shit. No, it's going to make you jump through more hoops. You're going to have to go get your fucking birth certificate, and you're this and you're that extra shit that you didn't have to get before. But Paco is still going to stand outside of fucking Home Depot and get taken home to do day labor shit. It's not going to change anything. It's only going to fuck us. So I think DeSantis is very misguided in the E-Verify thing, and I think he's doing it to get a cheap win because he's been taking so many L's. Sorry.
Well, yeah. Well, no. I mean, that's a point actually that I actually think is valid. Yeah. The E-Verify is something that like neocons have, like, for as long as I've been alive, at least, like I've heard, mostly conservatives nonstop over and over. We need E-Verify. We need E-Verify.
Trump has pushed it, right? So I'm not even gonna Trump has pushed it. I don't think he's looked at it through that. I think it was presented to him in such a way that it was like, oh, well, they have to E-Verify or they can't work. And it's like they work under the table. They're already working elite. You want to talk about whether they immigrate here legally or not? Because technically most of these border rushers that we got right now, well, they got a court date handed to them. So technically they're here legally, at least until the court date, right? But
Well,
whether they're legal or not, they're not going into Walmart and putting in an application. They're getting under the
right.
table construction work. They're fucking doing yards out of their truck for cash and a handshake. That's what they're fucking doing. And E-Verify is going to do nothing to stop that. All it's going to do is present another set of hurdles for particularly young white job seekers. And I don't like to eat. Oh, no, not even young white and young black jobs. Young black men have a hard enough fucking time getting work in a lot of these fucking places because there's no viable businesses in a fucking place in a radius around them that they can actually fucking work at. They have to get outside of the fucking cities. And this will just make that even worse. They're not going to get the job at Walmart anymore. You know, because they don't have all the proper paperwork. They might have their ID, but now they got to go get a fucking passport or whatever. Like all this extra stuff. It's just a hurdle for America. It's punishing American citizens and not addressing the problem so that you can get what you think is a cheap win. But and people think it's a win. People are like, yeah, he's going to get even. Oh, we're doing it. Oh, good job, DeSantis. But I'll tell you what, you tell me in 5 years how that E-Verify has affected a lot of those same people who are cheering it on are going to be the same ones like, man, I have to get 5 different fucking proofs of address and I have to do this and I need a national ID. That's another one that'll be fun, right? Like, fuck, man, people don't think this shit through. Sorry for the rant, Sam.
No, I you actually brought up, I agree with you, but like, I hadn't even considered that. I hadn't considered that position, but like hearing it now, I actually, you make a solid case.
Yeah, the people most punished by this are going to be 16-year-old men who are trying to get their first job in high school to fucking have some extra money for a car. That's who's going to be hurt by it.
Okay, so you want to know something funny about that is, okay, so when I was a teenager, so one of the stereotypical kind of jobs for disabled people is that you're like a door greeter at Walmart, right?
Yeah.
But I actually wanted to apply to be like a door greeter, not at Walmart, but at like, I think it was Kmart or Target, and they refused me because, and one of the managers, like at one point, like she kind of knew me and she told me like point blank that the reason why was because of Obamacare, and like it would have cost the company more to like insure me in case like there was like a mob at Walmart or something like that, like on Black Friday.
That's a fucking another one, right? Obamacare. See, young guys especially have been fucked since the passing of Obamacare and getting their first jobs. You'll find that most places tell young men college degree doesn't matter, disability doesn't matter, all of this doesn't matter. What they'll tell you is, oh, you need experience. Why? Well, because they don't want to fucking, they want a work record, in the industry showing that you're going to do all the things, because they have to pay a substantial amount of money for every single employee, whether you get insurance or not, right? You can still not have insurance and pay the fine. What is it? $2,000, the mandate fine. You can pay, they want to call it a fee and not a tax, whatever. It's a fucking tax. You got to pay the no insurance tax, but your employer is still paying the Obamacare fine for employing you. They're paying into the system even though you're not fucking taking advantage of it. And so why are they going to hire the 16-year-old guy who probably will quit in at the very least 2 years, but probably more closer to younger guys only work there a couple months, maybe a year? To pay all of this fucking money, they're looking for somebody that they know is going to show up on time, has a work record, These young guys having fucking immense difficulty if they don't go to college at all, trying to get into trades, You know, they say go to a trade school, but it's tough out there for tradesmen too. You
Yeah,
know,
no,
you got to get in with somebody. You got to be in the union. You got to know people. You got to apprentice. Again, for the young man in this country, there's so many hurdles put in front of their ability to get and keep a decent job. And boomers don't understand this, because when boomers were growing up, a lot of boomers, in fact, many that I know personally, have the same job that they had in 1975.
Yeah, no, I've encountered this very thing like since graduating college, as from the private discussions, we've had. I mean, it's been hard because like I
It's
like all these
difficult being a
skills.
rodeo clown. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have all these skills, and I mean, I have experience through like internships, but like I don't have like the 5 years, right, of
Right.
like professional experience of doing like graphic design, even though I've been doing that since I was like a teenager. That doesn't count because I didn't work for someone, in air
Oh.
quotes, right?
A
So
career like the boomers had, where you can get that one job, pay for a house, 2 cars paid off, no loans, very little credit debt, 2 chickens and that American dream that the boomers had, all the opportunity in the world doesn't exist for us, and they don't understand that. And you
no,
can't explain it to them.
the thing of it is they think that still exists.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
literally do. And
But
it,
they legislated it out of existence. This is the thing is, yes, boomers hold the fucking ball for most of this, and everybody knows, and everybody will say, oh, but I know good boomers, or I'm a good boomer. I get that.
sure.
Right? I get that. But by and large, it was the boomer generation that passed the fucking immigration bill that started all this. It's the boomer generation that passed shit tons of regulations on young people working, right? And back when boomers got working, they didn't even have to get papers. You just go and you work, and they'd work in a fucking coal mine and nobody would care. And they work in that goddamn coal mine for the rest of their life on a good salary, living an upper middle class lifestyle, right? And they could do that for 40 fucking years. And I say coal mine, obviously there's other problems with the coal mine, with the black lung and shit, but realistically, whatever that is, whether it's an office job, whether it's the post office,
Asbestos factory.
Well, even doing an office job with like a computer, like when my mom started out in the tech industry, like in the 80s, you didn't need a degree to like know how to like, do computer work unless you're doing programming. You just had to have like the willingness to learn like how to use the machine and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
Now they want you to have like little certifications to use Microsoft Office and shit, right? It's kind of ridiculous. But that's where we're at now.
Most of the top tech people in the 80s and 90s barely knew how to code when they got in. Like, some of the greatest innovations in technology were done by people that were learning on the job. And so Gen X had access to this a little bit too, and that's why you don't hear them, like, they'll back up the boomers on this, because it was easy. You could get a career that would last you decades, if not a lifetime, even in their generation. But by the time, and I'm of the oldest millennial generation, right? I'm pretty much the oldest millennial you can be and still be a millennial. That wasn't there anymore. Not only that, but we had 9/11, and that changed a lot of things too. And yes, the regulations and the Patriot Act and everything to do with that set a whole nother layer of, now you need specific kind of IDs, and now there's a whole fucking plethora of things that have been put in place that are hurdles for just, again, a 16-year-old guy who's like, man, I'm going to get my license and I want a car. Now, I was able to do that because I could work at a gas station. But you know what? I don't think people nowadays could do that. I think that a young guy would be very hard pressed to get a part-time job that would be able to pay for a car, because then he'd have to put gas and put insurance in it and everything else. And so even like I got a $50 shit box for my second car. To be fair, my first car I was given as a gift by my grandmother, but I totaled it the first day I had it on the road because I'm an asshole and stupid. And this is the only car accident I ever had, and it was completely my own fault because I was yelling out the window. But then so I had to get a car, right? I was like, fuck.
No. Here's my question, Max. Did you suicide bait and e-beg for a new car?
No, I got a job at a gas station, working fucking overnights while I put myself through the rest of high school.
Well, I mean, come on, man. You should have done like a GoFundMe and like asked for people to like
that wasn't a thing.
Donate to you. No, I know. You know what I'm riffing on though.
Oh, I know.
So,
I know. But no,
yeah.
and I can't imagine what it would be like if I was in that predicament today, right? Where would you even get a job? And oh God, what if you posted something online? You posted something problematic online. Now you just can't get a job because or you have to live in fear that they might find out you posted something edgy online for the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter if it was 30 years ago, as we've seen. These people bring up shit fucking somebody said 50 years ago. And they motherfuckers are canceling Christopher Columbus and shit, right? So it doesn't matter how long ago it was.
Yeah, and they're canceling Abe Lincoln.
Yeah. So, you know, what chance does any of us have? And of course, a lot of these kids grew up on Xbox Live saying, you know, yelling N-word at each other and calling each other gay all the time, right? Like, and so they're, you know, they have to worry. And that's why you do see a lot of people conform to the left. I think a lot of them are probably the biggest shitlords. They've probably said the edgiest shit. And it's troll's remorse, if you want my honest opinion. But you put all these problems in front of people. My point to kind of circle it all back is you put all of these problems in front of not just my generation, but now the next generation has it maybe even a little worse in the regards of employment and career. What do you think's going to happen? They're going to get pissed. And yes, a lot of them are going onto the left side of like, fuck capitalism, right? I actually get why they feel that way, because you basically told, you know, no, you can't get a job. And even if you do, you're not going to make enough to get your car on the road. And even if you do, we're going to have you saddled with these student debts. You notice that's another thing. Boomers don't have a lot of student debts, or Gen Xers. Millennials and Zoomers do. Why? Because they pushed us all to go to fucking college without a plan. Right?
Yeah, no,
in their generation, you went to college if you had a specific thing you were trying to do. In our generation, they tell you have to go to college just to go.
Yeah.
Just take on 5 to 6 figures of debt and figure out what you want to do while you're there. Of course, it's because of the indoctrination.
Well, I also want to say that with credentialism, I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, if you're in the economy as it is right now, going to college is usually a pretty good investment. Now, people do dumb shit because they're 18, right? They max out their credit, consumer credit. They move to a different city to go to college, right? They get a degree that's something fucking obnoxious because whatever, right?
Yeah.
But statistically, if you want to avoid poverty, I mean, the biggest two things are like, you know, work, like when you do work, and like get married. You know what I mean? Graduate high school, but no, college graduates on average have more money, and that's because of credentialism, right?
Yeah.
And it's not true of every major, like I said, but like I don't know, it's still solid advice for somebody who is normal to higher intelligence.
Right. I'm not necessarily disagreeing without. I mean, the thing that I love though too is that this is an argument I hear from boomers as a lot. Is, oh, well, I paid my way through college, and it's like, yeah, you could do that back in the late 60s and 70s.
Yeah, it's like I'm saying, the 16-year-old today can't even afford to fucking get a shit box. My point about the crash car story, the next one I bought,
Yeah.
$50. Cost me $50. It's a Ford Ranger, 1983. So as old as me almost. And yeah, it was a piece of shit. The body was rotted off, but it was mine. And I could afford to put it on the road just barely because gas prices back then were like just under $1. I know that really dates me. Motherfuckers have never seen gas prices under $1 in their whole life, but it was in my senior year in high school. Me and my buddy, he had an El Camino. We drove all over in that motherfucking thing, but I put it on the road. I put the insurance on it. That was all my money, right? Because I'm working part-time at minimum wage, which back then I think was like $4.50 or $5, right? And I had just enough to get the car on the road, keep it gassed up, pay my insurance, and try not to get a fucking ticket, right? Because a ticket would break the fucking bank. But what is a kid today? They can't afford the gas. They can't, let alone the fucking car. They can't afford the goddamn gas to fill it up. Their insurance rates are outrageous because they're like, well, they're kids and kids are more likely to fucking get in an accident, which is true, right? But they can't afford that. And where are you going to find a $50 fucking shit box nowadays?
Well, Max, I do want to point out something because it's interesting with the boomer college thing. You know what boomers would have done if they went and they got too educated and they couldn't find a job in their field? They had all this debt. Declare bankruptcy and write it off.
Right, yeah, and you can't do that anymore either.
Joe Biden, yeah, he made that under the Obama administration that you couldn't do that.
Right, and also credit card debt now. Like you can just take you to court and you can't bankruptcy. It's yeah, the Zoomers. It's like I rip on Zoomers a lot. I give them a lot of shit, but they're more akin. See, the Zoomers and the Millennials shouldn't be at each other's throats. We have more in common than not. Is that we both got left holding this bag.
Yeah.
Like. And nobody else is gonna fucking deal with it either. Like the boomers and the Gen Xers don't fucking care, by and large. Like I'm obviously, your boom. Like I always have to do this, but like your boomer dad probably cares. Okay, he probably cares deeply. Okay, but by and large, to the boomers, we're just the avocado toast eating, chugging beer out of buttholes party. Like they were saying the millennials were like the party animals when COVID started, and I'm like, yo, millennials are like in their 30s and have kids, right? Like,
yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, once again, I mean they might care, but like most of them don't understand these things. Things have changed, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
they're just like young people with this like news cycle bullshit, right? Like even the ones that are like, well, I watch the news, I stay informed. I mean, they don't have a memory that goes back to understand like, well, actually, they changed it so you couldn't default on student loan debt. And actually, if we adjust for inflation, it was cheaper to go to school back in the back when I was a kid.
Well, and you mentioned the credentialism thing, and that makes it a good reason to go to college. And you're right, but why? Why is that a thing? Oh, right, they did that.
yeah.
They're literally the ones asking for the credentials.
No, I brought that up because I do actually see credentialism as like a terrible thing for society.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Look, and I get where the boomers mentality came from on that. The boomers and Gen Xers to some degree, but mostly boomers were like, if they went to college, they did really, really well, most of them, because so few of them statistically did comparatively. Like it's about half of millennials went to college. It was about 10% of boomers. So yeah, it seemed like, okay, if I went to college, I did really well. I'm going to tell my kids, you got to go to college. This is the difference. Yeah. Also, if you didn't go to college, you might be doing all right. Like I said, you might have that middle-class job, but your brother Bill went to college Well, he makes six figures, right? He makes way more than me. I want my kids to be like that and get that kind of money. So they push their kids into it too. And because the tech market was starting to become a huge thing, they sent my entire generation was told, every male, especially in my generation, was told, you need to go into IT. Yeah. Well, that market popped immediately within 4 years of that.
Yeah.
Because, now there's all of these fucking guys with an IT cert. They're a dime a dozen. And you notice, like, an IT guy at that time was like a prestigious position. Now it's the fucking office bitch. Everybody laughs at the IT guy because it's low status.
And that's kind of like, I'm a millennial too, but like I'm on the younger, end of the millennials, right? And that's kind of like how my half of the millennials were with like marketing. Like everyone in my era was told, oh, go into advertising and marketing, right? And that's kind of plummeted
at the dawn of like YouTube and internet ad revenue, and they were like, yeah, that's good. And this is the thing, it's this constant boom and bust a cycle of they send all of these kids into one field, and then they all go into it, and then they all can't get, well, not all, but most can't get a job because it turns out the demand for that position wasn't everyone. And also, it's like I said, 50% of millennials as opposed to 10% of boomers. Well, of course, those 10% of boomers were valuable to society because there was only so many engineers. There was only so many high-end jobs. There was only so many people in any of these fields. Whereas now, again, they're a dime a dozen.
If you wanted to reform the system, I mean, we could just simply go back to, hey, look, I went and I took out this $50,000 to move to a new city, to go to a better school, to get this education, to get this particular fucking degree. And it's been 3 years and I can't find a job in that field. I'm working at Starbucks. I need bankruptcy.
Right.
Investment didn't work out.
Right. And you notice they don't want to do bankruptcy. They want to do debt forgiveness.
Yep.
Oh, but it'll ruin their credit. And it's like, yeah, well, them defaulting on their loans ruins their credit too. So what's the fucking difference? Yep. Well, the difference is they got a sweetheart deal with the banks. Also, the difference is they're going to print a bunch of money. And hey, when they print a bunch of money, everybody's fucking poor. Everybody's fucking poor now. I'll sell Trump 2024 as simple as this to most normies I meet. How much money did you have in 2018 and how much money do you have now in the bank? Mm-hmm. Don't answer. Just think about it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm stressed about money all the time. And it's,
yeah, me too.
This is the first real time in my life that I can't say that, but it's frustrating. Mm-hmm. It's frustrating, especially because I think in terms of economics, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just look at the higher education market and I just see all of these distortions, these price distortions. And then when I'm told that an 18-year-old is supposed to navigate this, right?
Right.
At the same time as I remember when I was 18, I got 5 credit card. Just fill it out. You can get a credit card in the mail. I've received none since I've turned 20,
Business loans aside, I didn't get a personal credit card until this year.
Yeah.
And not for lack of trying over the years. I actually just had no credit, even though because business stuff doesn't count because it's a separate entity. So you can get a business loan and not necessarily even get credit. And they could get credit. They didn't even need credit cards necessarily in the boomer eras. They could get a handshake from the bank and get a $5,000 personal loan at maybe 12% interest, but that's pushing it. Again, the opportunities that they had, the wealth that was generated in their generation, they can't even see that it was a bubble in time and that it only has benefited them, and that the fact that they continue to hold on to it and push us out at every opportunity. has been the most selfish. I would call the boomers the most selfish generation in human history.
But
they're the only generation that left their kids poorer than their parents left them.
What I was getting somewhere
in modern history. Sorry, go ahead.
My point is that I look at this market and I'm like, okay, so this is a distorted market. There's government subsidies. There's fucking all of these loan people giving these lines of credit to young people who lack experience, who lack knowledge, who lack information in the market. I look at this, and then when people are saying, well, they made a mistake, you know, fuck them, right? Just fucking don't do anything. Don't do any kind of reform. I don't know that I can agree with that. I don't know that I can agree with that. Now, does just giving the money to pay it off so that the next crop of people come through and then we're going to have to get them to pay off because it's going to be some wedge issue for the Democrats? Is that a good idea? No. But this is a real issue that the right has to come up with a solution for. And I understand it offends your sense of karmic justice because you say, well, what about the people who didn't go? What about the people who didn't fall for that trap? What about the personal responsibility of this person? But once again, they are only so responsible in a system literally designed to prey upon them in a market that they've been pushed through government education telling them they should do it, right?
And in most cases, family,
yeah. Pop culture too.
So I mean, at a certain point, you have to say that something has to be done. That this is not a failing on their part. That is worthy of ruining their lives. But second of all, do you think that a young person with $40,000 in student loan debt that turns into 50, turns into that, you think by the time they get about 27 and they're looking at $80,000 and in debt and they're working minimum fucking jobs, they can't own a home, do you think that person is more likely to I don't know, get married and have kids and buy an SUV and own a home and fucking be a part of their community and fucking go to PTA meetings, do all the shit that is basic middle class life by which conservatives have an advantage over?
And that maybe they might fucking start to resent the entire system that's, you know, coalesced to fuck them. So this is one.
Yep.
You and I have been beating this drum for a long time. I remember it was about, was it 2 years ago? I went and asked a whole bunch of libertarians specifically, okay, you guys want to, I think it was 2020 actually, you guys want to be, you know, in the national discourse of politics. How do you handle the student debt issue? And they would say, oh, well, we need to reform the schools. And it's like, yeah, okay. Reform how college loans work. Yep, sure. I can agree with all of this kind of stuff. What about the people that have outstanding loans? And the response, by and large, wasn't exactly these words, but it amounted to fuck them. Well, okay, libertarians, if your answer is fuck them, then why would those people ever entertain anything you have to say? Because that's the number one issue preventing them from all of these normal middle class things that he just mentioned. Those people aren't going to be like, yes, right, I'm going to be a libertarian now. They're going to be like, well, okay, fuck you too. And conservatives need to understand that these people are much more susceptible to the message of capitalism bad, tear the whole system down because of that. And so if we can't address this, and I've always said, I don't know necessarily what the answer is. I'm not necessarily in favor of debt forgiveness because that's just going to fuck our economy to the dirt. It's not even a sense of fairness, right? But we have to do something, or we have to just resign ourselves to the fact that those people are lost to the left forever.
In regards to the debt forgiveness fucking our economy into the dirt, I understand where you're coming from, Max, but one of my IL friends, I mentioned that to him the other day, and he said, well, the economy is already fucked, so what's the difference? And I mean, And I mean, I've heard that from a lot of people. So
They don't know what fucked is. They don't know what fucked is if they think that, honestly. Like, if you think that, oh, well, it's bad now, what's the difference? Okay, you want fucking $10 a gallon gas, you want $20 a gallon gas, you want $30 a gallon gas. That's not different than today. Those kind
yeah.
of people, when they say that, they will be the biggest people to bitch when they go to the grocery store and it's 4 times as much as what it was last month.
Yeah.
Like, the fact of the matter is, I've always said maybe a blanket interest freeze on all of these loans might go a long ways, and the bankruptcy thing might go a long ways. There's options out there that don't involve pure forgiveness, okay? But I'm even open to the debt forgiveness thing on a limited basis, simply for the fact of, I would rather not have a group of disenfranchised people in the prime demographic, by the way, we're talking 25 to 40, who can't do anything in life, work a fucking shitty job, they can't afford a family, they can't afford a home, they're fucking... I know people in their 40s that are still in roommate situations like it's fucking college, because they can't afford an apartment, much less a house. If we don't do anything for these people, then what's going to happen to them? They're not going to vote for pull yourself up by the bootstraps. They're not. And you need these people
No,
on
you're
your fucking
right.
team. You just do. If you're offering them nothing, you're offering them disdain. Oh, well, you must have got a fucking feminist dance degree. Well, a lot of them fucking didn't, actually. A lot of them actually have STEM degrees and just can't get a job in the field. A lot of them have degrees in criminal justice, can't get a job in the field. A lot of them have degrees in fucking communications, IT, whatever, and they can't get a fucking job in the field. So they're forced to fucking work at Walmart for minimum or slightly above it, and they can't even make headway because of the goddamn interest. Well, maybe we could fucking freeze the interest. Maybe that's a start. But to do nothing is to concede this whole battle to the left. I promise. We're making a lot of gains. We're coming back, right? The tide is turning. But if we just say fuck these people, we're gonna get exactly what we fucking deserve.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry to
You're
get
right.
animated.
No, I mean, I feel the same. It's interesting because you brought up Obamacare earlier, right? And I've got to tell you from personal experience, Obamacare has really fucked me over in a big way, because I was told that it would be easier for me to get a wheelchair every, 2 or 3 years. But no, in reality, and I've been dealing with this shit. So here's my situation, and believe me, a lot of people in wheelchairs are in a similar situation. So I have a power wheelchair that I use, when I'm out and about to commute and whatnot, right? And but like the thing is like a miniature tank, basically. Like, I can't use it around the house, right? Just because it's a big monster. But in order to get Medicaid to pay for it, I basically, told them that it was for in-home use, right? I had to.
Right.
So I've also needed a manual wheelchair
to get around the house.
To just get around the house, and I can't, because even though I'm technically eligible for a new chair, Medicaid looks and says, well, your insurance. So here's the thing: even if you're in private insurance still has to go through the Obamacare rules now,
right,
for durable medical. And basically, unless my wheelchair is like non-operational, I'm fucked. So I basically can't get a new wheelchair under either private insurance or Medicaid, because the current power wheelchair, which I also need, isn't, defunct enough. And the worst part of it is when insurance, when they look at you for getting a new wheelchair, they only consider what you're using for in-home use. They don't consider, does this person, have a job? Do they go in public? Anything. None of that matters to them, because the government thinks that all people in wheelchairs do is just sit at home.
Well, the government, I don't think it's that they think, it's what you do. I think it's what they want you to do, right? Like, certainly they're incentivizing you to not leave the house, right? That's fucking retarded.
But yeah, but then, like, also, like, I've applied for, like, these work from home jobs, and, like, a lot, like, yeah, I've been able to get some, like, part-time contract work, but, like, for an actual, like, full-time teleworking job, a lot of them want you to, like, have experience, like, starting off, like, working for their company, like, in person, and then telecommuting later on. And it's like, but if I can't even get to your job or whatnot because you're, far away, and I'm reliant on public transportation that also sucks, then what the hell am I doing? So it's just like it's a never-ending cycle of shit.
And this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. Is like, this is what people actually care about. This is these are kitchen table issues that, Trump might not have solved your problem, right? But you felt like he's the kind of guy that if you got a hold of him, he would try, or he would offer something, as a solution. Whereas, like, what has Biden done for you?
Well, Trump at least acknowledges that the kitchen table issues exist.
Right.
The Biden, like, here's the thing, like, at the end of the day,
the Biden stance is officially, by the way, that this is the best economy ever in American history.
Well, yeah, but, like, also, like, the Biden administration stance is that, like, LGBTQ issues are the most important issues of our time now. And look, we've talked this before. The thing is, by and large, no one is homophobic, no one is transphobic, no one really cares about your sexuality.
I'm getting there on the second one, but
well, but I mean, so
I'd rather not. Like, in an ideal situation, I'd rather not have a distaste for those people. I'd rather just let them live their life. But since they don't want to reciprocate that.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's why we're having a disdain for them, because they're not letting people just live their lives. Like, we try to let them live their lives that they don't want to let us live ours. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's the other thing. Like, we're being told that their issues matter more than our issues.
What does the media talk about nonstop? Trans kids, all their access to healthcare, all like, there's normal working class families that don't know where their next meal is coming from. I don't give a fuck about your gender reassignment surgery.
Yeah,
straight up.
Yeah, the trans kids' access to healthcare thing is really fucking grating to someone who actually has a disability, who is actually, like, trying to figure out, well, geez, what am I gonna do once my parents are, gone?
The interesting thing, you mentioned the wheelchair thing, or the, the power chair thing. The interesting thing is that immediately Obamacare caused the complete collapse of a lot of that industry. You look at Hoveround and among others, because they suddenly had a whole new set of customers that said, I'm disabled, and under Obamacare, I'm entitled to a power chair. And by disabled, they mean 500 pounds.
Right.
I wish I was kidding.
No.
All these big fat motherfuckers went out and got hover rounds, and then that guy got accused because a lot of those people actually weren't disabled, but hover round was like, well, we want the Medicare money, like the incentive was there. We want your Medicare money, so we will find a way to make you disabled under the law so we can give you this fucking chair. So the market got flooded with these goddamn hover rounds everywhere, right? And you saw the commercials all over the fucking place. And then that guy got popped for defrauding the Medicare system because you're not supposed to do that. And that has crashed that market to such a degree that it's no wonder you're having such troubles. You're like, I just want a manual chair for the house and a power chair to get around the town. And they're like, fuck you.
It's like, oh, by the way, I'm actually disabled. My doctor actually has documentation proving I'm disabled. Nah, fuck you. You might still be defrauding the system. And
oh yeah, they're gonna send people to fucking watch you to make sure you don't walk. Which, according to MAGA News in the MAGA News Network in the chat, they're gonna catch you one of these days.
Yeah. Listen. They're eventually going to need to see me literally spraining my back because I can't get in and out of the shower easily. And
yeah, my father-in-law before he passed went through the same thing. He had a spinal injury in his 30s and he could not walk, and we had to fight tooth and nail, and they're one of the ones that got screwed over by the hover round company. That's why I bring it up. But that boom was brought about by Obamacare initially.
Yeah.
And all of these people who now have insurance that never had it before, that were big fat motherfuckers or just lazy. That's another one, just like lazy motherfuckers. And they're like, I want one of those power chairs, because they didn't even see them as a wheelchair, right? They saw it as like, oh, it's a little scooter. I can drive around town, aren't I? So mostly boomers, just to point that out.
No,
and they crashed the whole fucking market. And only people like you or I who are either disabled or know somebody directly who are disabled know that this is a serious fucking problem.
Yeah, no. It's funny you bring around the hover round thing because a couple of those fat motherfuckers who don't actually need the wheelchair, they see me in mine and they're like, cool chair. They treat my wheelchair like it's a sports car or something, and it's like, yeah, this is a luxury item for you, but I fucking need this to get around, right?
Yeah, this ain't a fucking luxury to me. This is the only way I can fucking operate outside of my home. you know. Now, and another one was the rise of Walmart put a bunch of fucking power chairs in all of their fucking stores, and that normalized it because people thought, oh, these are there if I don't want to walk. And it's like, no, those are there for the old guy who can walk, right? So he doesn't have a chair at home, but he walks with a fucking cane, and it just would be a little easier for him. That was the intention of them. And then everybody and their brother is like, well, I'm really fat, so I need one of them. And then they think I need one of these to go around town just generally. And
There was a big problem in Colorado specifically, and I remember because I was a teenager when this happened. There was a big problem with fat people. Okay, so you used to be able to get a lifetime handicap placard for your vehicle. And they got rid of that because so many of these motherfuckers were getting their doctors to write fraudulent scripts for those lifetime placards. And meanwhile, the rest of us, those of us who actually needed those lifetime placards, we weren't grandfathered in. So now every 5 years, I've got to get a script from my doctor and go down to the DMV.
As if you're just gonna clear up tomorrow.
Yeah.
One day Sam's just gonna wake up and be like, "Yup, nope, I'm not disabled anymore.
I mean,
I hate to even get on this topic because I feel like we'll bore the shit out of the audience, but like this is a thing, you know, that you deal with. Like I say, you know, my father-in-law dealt with this shit nonstop, you know.
yeah.
Another one is all they ever wanted to do. They're like, well, we could do a surgery, but we'd rather just put you on Vicodin. And he's like, I don't want to take Vicodin. Can I just do the surgery? And they're like, well, it's too expensive. Let's try the Vicodin first, you know? And he was one of the ones that had the willpower that he didn't get addicted to it. And he found another doctor and he got, you know, different advice. But I also know somebody, a woman, she was actually the deacon of my church. She is the one that oversaw my wedding with my wife. This was a close family friend. Church lady, never did drugs in her life, never did alcohol, but they got her on Oxycontin because she got in a car accident and ruined her knee, and she's dead now of an overdose. So,
yeah,
you know, like the medical system these days is just so fucked on so many levels. It's infuriating.
Yeah, no, it's on several levels. I mean, we could do a whole entire episode on how fucked the medical industry is, and probably have like hours to spare.
I just wanted to point out that our chat has come up with a solution. If you have crippling student loan debt, our chat suggested that you move to a country that's hostile to the United States, so you don't have to worry about the debt.
There you go. Problem solved. I also like the MAGA News Network really doesn't like you. They said not Sam Smuley. It says next time, what other leftist ideas will smugly push?
Fuck you, dude. What I'm doing is cool and subversive, right? I'm a smooth political operator. I'm playing around with moral foundations. I'm tweaking arguments so that we can win, damn it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, that's what
speaking of smooth political operators, though, Sean Hannity.
Nice segue. I love it.
Real, you know, Sean Hannity, that guy.
Hold on. Speaking of boomers who don't give a shit, speaking of smooth political operators, speaking of fucking people that don't get it, speaking of people that don't give a fuck about kitchen table issues, Sean Hannity. Speaking of warmongers, Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Yep,
yeah.
I mean, who better to replace Tucker, right? I'm sure they'll get way bigger ratings now.
Well, the only thing I can think is that like Sean Hannity must be happy because right, like he was the top dog at Fox for like a long ass time, and then Tucker came in and he was like the new Popo kid. And you know that behind the scenes, that really, you know, just pissed Sean off.
Yep.
So I'm sure that Sean was actually happy when Tucker got canned.
Whether he got the slot or not, I think he was happy. Yeah, I think he would have been fine staying at 9 o'clock.
I'm number one again.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. I'm going to be the big fish in the sinking ship small pond that is Fox News, which is now losing to Newsmax.
Yeah,
I was talking about this earlier. So if you put me in charge, because Sean Hannity, obviously most people who like Tucker are going to be like, that's a terrible choice. There is a demographic for Sean, and it is boomers who watch cable television, conservative news. They like him. They've always liked him. It's a safe bet, not a smart long-term investment by Fox. However, I offered two alternatives. One probably a lot better than the other. One would be Larry Kudlow. Larry Kudlow on Fox Business, I watch religiously. He's one of the most level-headed guys out there. He really knows his shit. He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
But that's my personal taste. But I guess also my personal taste, why not Kennedy? Kennedy is leans libertarian, so she can get into that demographic. She's got a goddamn massive fan base. Look, Kennedy, when I was in middle school, that I believe was my first ever crush when she was on MTV. Right? It's crazy that she's still in media, and she still looks good.
I've actually met her. I met her at like one of those Young Americans for Liberty conventions a few years ago.
But
good
she's
looking
not,
lady.
Yeah. She's aged like the goddamn finest of wines. And but beyond all that, she's smart. She's not a libertarian that I'm like cringing at every 5 seconds. She could open them up to a younger millennial Zoomer market in the same space as Tucker. And it's a woman. Right? You got that going for you, but she has a built-in fan base, a rabid fan base at that. She's really well-spoken. She doesn't take any shit. She's an independent thinking person. If I was in charge of Fox News, I would have put Kennedy in that spot. No question. I can't even think of another personality that would be better for that slot if my plan was going to catch the younger demographics and to branch out into online content like they were with Tucker. If I just wanted to keep my aging boomer demographic, Sean Hannity. And that's the decision they made. Now, in 10 years, is that going to be a good decision? I don't think so. But right now it is. They need to hold on to the few ratings they have.
Well, in 10 years, they're going to have me. I'm kidding. They're going to be bankrupt.
Yeah. They'll have you in the Fox News cardboard box.
In 10 years they might be in 10 years they might be so desperate that they actually like go to Shmuley or me unironically and say, hey,
oh my god, yeah, like why did Fox not just pick up the Whitfield report?
Well, I mean,
I'd have wore a suit. Hold on. I will wear a suit. I didn't wear a suit at like my own father's funeral, but I will wear a suit for like a legitimized Whitfield report. I ain't cutting the hair or shaving though. Fuck that.
Yeah, so what?
I just want to make it clear that I currently wear a suit every time.
Well, I mean, your camera's off, so no one can see you. But we'll take your word for it.
I believe him.
What, my camera's been off this whole time? What the fuck?
For months, yeah. I could see it. I think he wears a suit. I think it's about 2 sizes too big for him, though, because he's, under 30, and that seems to be the style.
That's the style, man.
The style is like, I got daddy's suit on.
Yeah, review bra, dude.
Your style is you've got daddy's suit on, and you want to date 16-year-olds when you're 30. Oh wait, no, that's Nick Fuentes.
No.
Segue.
Look. My take on that whole thing he said, and I think this is medically true, because he said that they were prime. What was the exact quote about milk?
He said he likes to drink. He wants to drink the milk when it's the most fresh.
Yeah. Look, women are on their prime from 20 to 29. That's when they're the most fertile. Like,
but this is the guy who has also. This is the kid who has also said unironically that women are icky and gross.
He's also the guy that said that putting your penis in another man's butt isn't sex, so it's okay.
Well, the first part,
he said it's just friction.
Okay,
now that's weird, but I could understand where you would say, hey, that's not actually sex.
Right, but it's just friction. It's whatever. It's
but
it's like masturbating, he said.
If it's not sex, it's sodomy. It's something more devious.
It definitely is sodomy, right? by the most literal definition.
So I mean, I can understand if you're, technical with these things. I pride myself on accuracy, right? And so I've like I said, I fact checked these claims. They've been fact checked by
Well,
true American
you
patriots.
know,
I got a claim for you to fact check. Is my claim is that Nick Fuentes is a power bottom. I want you to fact check that for me if you could.
I'd rather not.
well, my question is, which would Nick rather have, a 16-year-old girl or a monkey? Because for a while there, he was talking like monkeys and duck ass mouse pads and shit for like a long
Well,
Well, would he
time.
spank his monkey?
of course. I mean, he's like the master at it. The thing with Nick is it's been a hell of a week for him and his boys. They had to like kick out Baked Alaska of all. Imagine that, right? After sending that guy to prison on your behalf and fucking everything else with him, and you've defended the bullshit that he's done over the years. What caused him to get kicked is because he said, "Yeah, I think having that pedo guy around was a bad idea." That was it. That's it. You're gone. You're fired, motherfucker. Get out of here. You don't belong here.
Yeah, the one like socially acceptable thing that like Baked has said to in what I mean by socially acceptable is like, something that like any normal person would agree with, gets him fired from AF. So
Yeah.
the problem is even though he said that, like he himself is still kind of like an irredeemable piece of shit.
Oh,
so
this is a lot of people that just like hate Fuentes or they hate the Rage Pig. They kind of forget that the people around them are also pieces of shit. Right? And no, they're all pieces. Like just because two pieces of shit has a fight doesn't mean you need to pick a favorite. You just let them fight, It's like when Sam and Ricky Berwick get in a room and I come yell cripple fight, right? Nobody's gonna break that up. You just let them go.
Listen, my thing is I'm just afraid that Ricky's gonna like bite my arm because like, have you seen that guy's teeth? Like he's got like, the guy looks like a werewolf.
I specifically picked him because I think it would be the fairest famous cripple fight that I can think of. Because he's little, but he's crafty.
Well, and also like our quote unquote friend of the show, the Laughing Daimyo, when he did his documentary on me, which he has since taken, it's funny. He took his documentary down on me after you did your documentary on him, which is funny.
Gee,
but
I wonder why.
He made nonstop comparisons between me and Ricky Berwick. Honestly, I didn't know anything really about Ricky Berwick up until that point. Honestly,
Ricky is a living legend. I love that guy. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
So is Crip Daddy. What's his face?
Oh yeah, I do know of Crip Daddy.
Yeah. There's a call like, yeah. There's a market for like cool, edgy fucking cripples. That's we just need to make you cooler and edgier, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think I am pretty edgy and I think I am pretty cool, but the question is, am I crippled enough to monetize it, or do I need to be more crippled?
I think you're not. I think you're not visibly crippled enough to the audience, is what it is. Because they get this nice shot of you from up here, right? And they can't. Well, no, because sometimes you're crawling on the floor in the background.
Yeah, but that seems like that's not how he gets around his house, right? Like that seems a little bit too like on the nose. Like, oh, I'm gonna drag myself across the ground. Like, I get how they would think that's playing it up, right? They're gonna think, oh no, Sam, he's got like an office chair. He'll just roll his way through. Oh, he's got
you know
a
what
series of pulleys and steam gears.
You know what the funny thing is, I was actually joking with my stepdad about this morning, was if we were to set up like cameras and just document like how I have to like get around and kind of use like this collapsible like hybrid wheelchair, like they would have to grant me a wheelchair just out of shame, basically. So
Yeah.
maybe the Big Brother camera show might actually work out well. But
We
instead
can't
of
just
being
like glue a bunch of wheels to you.
Well, I kind of picture that he's got like, as soon as you open that door, he gets into like a Rube Goldberg contraption that like just takes him through the house, and there's like bells going off and gears turning and water wheels.
He balls up, and it's like one of those gumball machines with the elevators and shit.
the
He
power
balls into
wheelchair
a cup.
the power wheelchair that I use around the house, like we got it off the internet. It's called like a travel power wheelchair, but it basically looks like a lawn chair with a joystick on it. That's basically
pretty
what
cool.
it looks like. It's cool, but like it's not fitted for me really. Like my posture kind of sucks in it, but it's it's the best I can do right now. So
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
so that
Anyway.
so thanks, Obama. You really helped me get new wheelchairs. Not
Yeah. Well,
All right.
the hover around market crash thing drove up all the prices too, so it made it even fucking better. So like if you wanted to buy one on the open market without insurance, which you have to get secondhand because they don't sell any new ones outside of that fucking system, unless you're fucking paying a grip, right?
Yeah.
You gotta pay good money for that. You're basically just fucked, right? And that's why a lot of people get them, secondhand. And of course, if somebody's selling a power chair, they're probably not in the best condition. Either the person died or the chair is shitting the bed.
Well, no. So the manual wheelchair that I was actually trying to get last year, and this was just the manual wheelchair. The one that I got denied by both Medicaid and insurance for last year, the model that I got denied for, I just looked on eBay and it's $900 and it looks brand new. It's only like a year old. So, but the thing is like I think somebody died and that's why.
Usually, like that's how you find deals on it, and it's like that kind of sucks because you're like, odds are this person basically lived in the chair and now they're dead. That sucks.
Yeah, and then it's also like, well, and it's like, well, like we were looking at it, and it's like, well, is there a way for them to like, they can't fit it to me exactly, but like, is there a way they could kind of get close? There's all this other shit. So
yeah.
So
Anyway,
yeah,
it's time for neat news. Boom, boom, neat news. McDonald's has been found liable by a South Florida jury for a chicken nugget that severely burned a 4-year-old child, causing second-degree burns and leaving her disfigured. The incident occurred in 2019 when a hot chicken nugget fell onto the child's legs at McDonald's in Tamarack, Florida. The jury held both McDonald's and the franchisee owner, Upchurch Foods, responsible for failing to warn about the potential harm caused by the hot nuggets.
So they got hot coffee suited again?
While McDonald's was found negligent, Upchurch Food was primarily held responsible for the burns. Attorneys representing McDonald's argued the high temperature of the nuggies was necessary to prevent salmonella poisoning. A second trial will determine the damage owed to the child and her family. The case is comparable to the 1994 lawsuit against McDonald known as the hot coffee case.
Right.
After a woman received third-degree burns for spilled coffee and was war damage. It's going to use the precedent from the hot coffee case, arguing that there should have been warning when serving unreasonably hot nuggies.
True. Yeah. I mean, look, once bitten, twice shy. Like, of any fucking company in the world, McDonald's should probably know that they're about to get sued.
So what you're saying is I should sue the local McDonald's because I burned my fingers when I went to, grab a handful of hot French fries the other day.
Well, did you receive third-degree burns from just touching him? I mean, to be fair, right?
I mean, no, but listen, I could say that I got second-degree burns.
Then that would. I mean, he's very sympathetic if you think about it to a jury.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that you couldn't do it. I'm just telling you that,
he's gonna get in there and the courtroom's not fucking handicap accessible enough, so he crawls to the fucking witness stand.
I need my hands to get around. Right? Look, I think they would settle you out of trial. I think they would see you and be like, okay, let's do an out of trial agreement,
Exactly. Fuck like trying to work. I'll just become one of those people who, makes a living off suing companies and shit. So
an all-female team created an innovative sex toy called the Odisse Personnel Massager. It initially won the Innovation Awards at the Consumer Electronics Show. However, the award for the device was later revoked, leading the team to claim gender bias. The personal massager is designed to replicate the sensation of a human mouth, tongue, fingers, providing a realistic sexual experience. The Consumer Technology Association, CTA, the organizers of CES, stated that the product was disqualified due to being determined immoral, obscene, indecent, and not aligned with the CTA's image. The founder and CEO of the toy's developer argued that a male-focused sex robot was allowed at a previous event, highlighting a double standard. The team believes that the disqualification of the product is an example of bias against products designed for female sexual gratification.
So am I the only one that's been to CES?
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not either.
Okay. The thing about CES is they always have a bunch of grody fucking sex toy shit. So I don't know what they're talking about. They're just mad they gave one an award accidentally somehow. Like it slipped the system and they're like, oh shit. Like,
well, I mean, I thought that this.
They didn't give you mentioned the sex robot. They did not give that an award.
True.
Right? It's different when you're giving it an award. There's a section in CES. When you go into CES, it's really cool. I highly recommend anybody, if you get the chance and you like fucking gadgets and gizmos, you'll see shit there that you'll never see for sale in public. Prototypes and shit. It's really cool. But you go to the back section. I remember specifically the year that I went was when they were announcing the Meta Quest, the original one.
Cool.
And there was a line around the block, not just for the fucking VR headset. There was a pretty long line for that, but specifically the one showing off porn software had the biggest line in CES, fucking so long. And all I could think is, you're going to go and you're going to put this headset on and watch porn after 400 other guys have just done the same thing. I did not want to get in that line, is all I'm saying. But no, they always have gross sex toy shit at CES. They're covering their own ass. And then, of course, the other side's going to say it's gender bias for whatever fuck. That's what they do, right? But that's a pretty funny story. I never thought I'd hear CES being like giving an award to a fucking sex toy.
Well,
do
here,
you think that it's double standard? I mean,
No.
no.
you don't think that it's gender bias?
I don't think that they would give a pocket pussy an award either, and I don't think they ever have. So no.
No.
Okay.
Well, if anything, I think that this becoming a story, will attract attention for the company. So this is one of those things of like
also it becoming a story might be gender bias in the other direction.
right.
If
Interesting.
if CES accidentally gave a pocket pussy an innovation award and took it back, it wouldn't be as newsworthy as this.
Can we
Yeah,
have
well,
can we have a soundbite of Max saying that?
well, I mean, so this wasn't
I'm sure
originally
we
a,
will.
this wasn't originally a topic, but like Sports Illustrated, right?
Oh no, here we go.
They came out with I guess they're coming out like on Friday with their new swimsuit issue. And Martha Stewart is on one of the covers.
Take your pick between the octogenarian and a fucking tranny, right? Those are your choices with Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, baby. Yeah. That's what all the guys want.
And right, like for close to like 50 years, it was all hot women in swimsuits.
Well, to be fair, the last couple of years it's been big fat rainbow haired body positivity people. So
yeah, I basically stopped collecting in 2015 because I'm like, okay, they're going woke, so I'm done. I'm out. So yeah, I mean, and the funny thing of it is their sales compared to like, even like 6 years ago have basically plummeted. And
to be fair, some of that is going to be because they're a print magazine and
sure,
it's the digital age, but not all of it. Certainly.
Well, but
an issue of women in fucking swimsuits that are hot is still going to have a market somewhere, right? So dropping off isn't entirely just the digital switch.
Well, okay, so I doubt that she's ever going to listen to this, but to MJ Day, the editor of the swimsuit issue, what she fails to understand, because she actually has talked about this, her reasoning for why the swimsuit issue has declined in sales in recent years is because, well, there's not enough diversity in the issue.
Yeah, that's it.
And first off, I want to know, like, who do you not understand what your target demographic has been for the last, like,
No, they do. They don't want them. This is the same thing. Dungeons and Dragons just recently did, I think they said the most obvious thing ever for these companies is one of their top guys said, straight white men can't leave the hobby fast enough for us. They think all of these woke companies think they're going to pick up this massive woke demographic. Here's the thing. Those motherfuckers on the left, the trannies and the virtue signalers, are not going to buy a magazine to look at mostly naked women. That's not what they're going to buy. And if you make it mostly naked old women and mostly naked fat women and mostly naked men, they're definitely not going to buy it. So they think that there's a market that doesn't exist. And I mean, Miller, like we've talked to death about the Bud Light thing, but the Miller thing's now coming home to roost, which By the way, because of the successful launch of Troonshine, which I do want to get to before we take up too much time, but I am going to engage on a project I've wanted to do for a long time. I did it once before, but I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to brew a beer, because that's the only way I can be sure that it's not got trannies or hardcore radical feminism or some kind of bullshit in it. And so I'm gonna just get a beer brewing kit because this is ridiculous. And look, Troonshine brand mead has taken over Twitter the last couple days. I don't know if you guys have borne witness, but I do have it up if you want to take a look, Sam.
Yeah, let's do it. I was thinking we should get like all these other podcasts have like beverage sponsorships, so we ought to maybe do that. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I can totally make that happen. I happen to know the owner and operator of the Troonshine Beverage Company, so let's go. So Dick Molesterson, he was talking to me about this, and he was like, I want to brew some mead, and so this is what came out was Troonshine, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. These gorgeous bottles. This is the first run of Troonshine. As you see, you can take your pick of which variety of Troonshine you want, and they each have their own little captions and things. This is made with he said, I brewed my own Troonshine, fermented from the finest bathtub ingredients and local honey. Please shine responsibly. And look at the beautiful artwork on these bottles. And it's just fantastic. And of course, a shout out to Troonjacks and I'm Just a Worm for that artwork.
Which is actually really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It is.
But what's even better is here's some quote retweets of that, right? Let's have a look at where the funny stuff is. This person quote retweeted it twice, so you can tell that they're totally not having fun with it. I have it on good authority that delicious Troonshine will cure AIDS and monkeypox. I've not seen the data to back that claim up, but it's interesting. Caring this much about trans people is a mental illness. All he did is brew some shine, man. People are blown out of proportion. It's always insane knowing so many of the people I grew up watching absolutely fucking hate me because they think he's Dick Masterson. That's a whole nother thing. Imagine being this petty over some shitty beer. This is weird, I think. It gets worse, though. Rent-free. My favorite is this one, the rent-free one, because you see what she posted here with the trans flag SpongeBobs and stuff. If we go to the quotes, my favorite one is this new advertisement that was made for Troonshine. Cope, drink, and dilate. So there's that. There's so much. I wonder who's really mentally. They love to say he's mentally ill because he brewed some mead. A totally normal thing to make that is completely fine to post on Twitter, by the way. It is. Literal genocide. This is my favorite one. Literal genocide never tasted so good. This is a sentiment that you hold about me, so I'm just going to repeat it. I think it would be funny if you ended your own life. It would make me laugh. I would joke about it with my friends for several days. Feel free to report this, snowflakes. That from Brooklyn Supreme over here. Of course, yes. Troonshine has welcomed the newest brand ambassador. Somebody needs a new obsession. I could never be this pathetic. Poonshine when imagine be, and it just goes on and on and on. Go check out Dick Molesterson on Twitter for yourself. This shit is hilarious, and there's even their mass murder fantasies can only be digested through the lens of consumerism.
What? That one didn't even.
Well, what happened is it got picked up by, you see, Xander Hall and all the fucking bread tubers. They started reacting to it on Twitch, and so now there's like, yeah, he's getting death threats. They're very mad. They're very mad.
So wait, the trannies think that we're like committing genocide by drinking
mead, yeah.
Yeah. And that like satires them. Okay.
Yeah.
But,
they totally missed the fucking joke, of course.
Okay, well again though, here's the thing, like they put Budweiser, they put Dylan Mulvaney's face on a can for Budweiser, and then all the trans activists were like, what's the problem? It's just beer.
Yeah, what's the problem? It's just mead. You know? I'm hoping I can score one of these original bottles myself, but I don't think so. They are very popular. And so, as part of the Troonshine initiative, my brewed beer is going to be under the Troonshine banner. I hope to have it ready, if not for Pride Month, then at some point this summer. And I will hopefully be able to. I don't know about sending them across state lines, but if I can, both of you guys, I'll send a beer your way. But
appreciate
it. We can't even have fun with these people without them freaking out. My favorite is one of them was like, I can see the reflection of your face in the bottle. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, spend a lot of time looking at that picture then.
Yeah, no, we'll see. See, here's the thing: is like these activists. They like I can laugh at. I think the big difference between kind of us and them is like I can laugh at myself when Merch makes fun of me for, you know, being handicapped or whatever. Yeah, it's, you know, it's mean, but I can laugh at it, right? Like we can laugh at ourselves. They have no sense of humor,
right?
Because they're so egomaniacal in trying to change the world that they can't they have no sense of humor. The only way that they laugh is like laughing at other people's misfortune. So,
yep, it's wild. Yeah, they've been, oh, you know, we could kill you, and like his private messages, I've seen some are fucking wild now. It's blown up, but I did just remember like about half of our audience is audio only. So yeah, just check out at Dick Molesterson on Twitter, and you can see the artwork, because I was like, oh, look at the beautiful artwork, and some of them aren't going to be able to see it. Go check that out on Twitter.
Well,
and look at the quote retweets, because it's just a fucking shitstorm.
Yeah, no, I was looking at some of them, but I was looking at some of them this morning because I did see it, and yeah, we didn't go through. We just went through like a small portion of the quote tweets, but yeah, some of them are bad. Like, yeah. and he was getting, he must have been getting like, because, you know, I know of Dick Molesterson, and you know he always gets lots of interactions. I imagine you got some pretty bad, you know, DMs before deciding to do the Troonshine, just because he was making fun of Dick Masterson and all those folks. But now he you know, quadruple whatever that was. So.
The funniest thing is like the original thing was he was just like, hey, I am gonna get a mead brewing kit. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I did the beer brewing before, I never done mead. And then the idea just became, oh, it should be True Shine. It's just a joke, man. These people are like, oh, you obsess. Oh, you take for. He printed out some fucking labels and slapped them on the bottles for mead he was gonna brew anyway. And I'm sure it's gonna be delicious. Actually, he said it is. It's quite delicious. So,
Yeah.
It made content, and now they're just generating him infinite content by they keep saying this shit. Here's one that says Nazis went from meth chocolate bars to pissing in jugs with MS Paint drawings on them. Hillbilly Hitler over here. Hillbilly Hitler, which is very funny. But
what's with the the daily? Are they talking about the Daily Wire chocolate bars? Is that what that?
I think so. I'm not really sure what meth chocolate bars means. And no, he didn't piss in those bottles. That's the color of mead, bro. Like, it's made from honey. You think it might be golden?
It's unironically hard to tell what they get mad at these days. Like meth chocolate bars. Like, if I didn't know that the Daily, like, what are you even talking about, right?
The Daily Wire is the only thing that fits, but even that, it's like meth?
Right.
Oh,
but no, but like if I was a normie who didn't know about the Daily, about that the Daily Wire did that, and I ran across that tweet, I would be like, what are you even talking about? So
I love that a lot of people are now quote retweeting it as a reply. Like this one here says, here, this is what your kind drink, right? Settle down. It's like, here, have a True Shine and shut the fuck up. It's beautiful. Somehow this guy's homebrew mead project has now become like a center point in the culture war for a couple of days, which is based as fuck.
Right. Hey, the way I see it, Dick is just like riding the wave off of, Budweiser and, Miller. Like, he's riding the wave off this beverage outrage. Like, if you think about it, this is how insane the culture war is getting. That, like, we're literally having a culture war over adult beverages now.
That's right.
That's how far this thing has. I don't want to say evolves, more like devolves. It went from video games and movies to fucking adult beverages.
Right. And that's why look forward to True Shine Maximum coming later this year.
It makes me like think that we should do like Cripple Beer or something.
Oh yeah. Have you ever
like
brewed? It's real easy. You can get a kit.
You can buy them at like one of the Barnes and Nobles here, or one of the local bookstores sells them. My neighbor had a brewing kit, I think.
Yeah, I did it once years ago. I made a couple of gallons. They're pretty good. You get a little sediment at the bottom generally, but it's not, it's fucking good. You actually should drink it. It's fucking fine. But yeah, it's fun. We're having fun, and they're not having fun. Like,
yeah.
If these people were like normal, their response to this would be like, all right, that's kind of funny, but you're mean, or something like that.
Well,
right?
even when these people, even when Bud Light did have Dylan Mulvaney on it, the trans people were not celebrating the fact that Dylan Mulvaney was on the can. They were focused on straight cis people hate this, right? But they weren't they weren't actually buying Bud Light themselves either. They were just bitching that we weren't. They were bitching that we weren't buying it.
The interesting thing, and I said we beat the Bud Light thing to death over the last couple weeks, but there is one interesting point about that I should bring up. What's happened now is that because Bud has announced that they're going to make a campaign to kind of try and win some of this back and bring it back, now they're being boycotted by gay bars. So
yeah, no,
they can't win. They just...
yeah, no. I mean, I know that you're saying that we're beating that we already beat the Bud Light thing to death, but the thing of it is this Bud Light controversy is just like kind of Ethan. It's just like Ethan Ralph. Just when you think you've covered everything, there's another layer that gets added.
True.
To it.
No, and the thing is I think that's funny because it's one time the left and right agree. Everybody agrees Bud Light is cringe. I hate to break it to you, Anheuser-Busch, but you've now become seen across the entire culture, all of it, as cringe. Good luck with that.
Well, okay, so the thing was like Budweiser was never like a great beer. Like people used to make fun of it for, oh, it's kind of like a shit beer, but like Budweiser's popularity now is like everyone just hates it. So
Budweiser until this, like not Bud Light, but like Budweiser was the most recognizable brand in the world except for Coca-Cola. It was ubiquitous, right? It was everywhere. They're advertising everywhere. It was not cringe. It was like people, beer drinkers are like it's shit beer, but you always know you're going to get the same Budweiser. And it's, I guess, the same with Bud Light. If you go to a bar, you get it off tap, it's going to be the same wherever you fucking go. It just makes things easier. I happen to be lucky to live in this area where the Sam Adams is the same thing. If I just ask for a Boston Lager, I'm going to need a Boston Lager, right? So I never really drank Bud Light, but I have in the past. People bought like, hey, I got a 30 rack of Bud Light because women folk will drink a Bud Light or two or whatever. It was fine, and it was culturally like in the same vein as a Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola might not be your favorite soda, but if somebody offers you a Coke, odds are you'd be like, it's all right. Yeah.
Well, Budweiser and Coca-Cola are both kind of like icons of like classic Americana. So
very much,
like Budweiser, the saying used to be Budweiser was as American as apple pie, right? Mm-hmm. And
the king of beers too.
Yeah.
Hey, and now Miller, the champagne of beers, is going in its own. That's the thing. It kind of irks me to some degree because back in the day, if I wanted a cheap domestic beer, because that's basically what Bud is, right? If you want something that's cheap and domestic, you're probably going to get Bud or some Anheuser-Busch product or Coors, right? Or Miller. Those are like the generic ones. I used to get Miller High Life. I actually like Miller High Life. I'm never going to drink it again.
No, I actually like Miller High Life. Miller High Life was always referred to, at least here in Florida, as granddad beer because everybody's granddad, they always drink Miller High Life. So.
Yeah. And I would get it because they were cheap for like a 12 pack for a decent drink it and do some fucking karaoke or something. Now I just get Sam. Look, Sam, before somebody, some autist is like, oh, but they had a Pride beer. Yeah, but is that as bad as the Dylan Mulvaney thing? I look, every corporation puts a pride flag on something these days.
Sure. Listen, I will to kind of play devil's advocate. But Anheuser-Busch should have given the trans people like their own unique beer.
Oh man, wouldn't that have been sick if they made like a fucking Dylan Mulvaney beer? That would be cool for that weirdo, right? Like, and his
I
weirdos would probably buy all of it out really fast, and then they would resell it on eBay like it's what was that shit with the Rick and Morty, the fucking sauce from McDonald's or what? Like,
oh yeah, the
they're
well,
stupid.
and you know,
They
like
don't take advantage of the actual market.
and yeah, you might get like Steven Crowder and other like people who who still complain out, but I wouldn't be nearly as the thing was everyone got pissed off because they slapped him on the main thing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if they didn't, if they gave him the kind of his own brand, yeah, you might get some comments, but no one would have.
But the target audience would have been the right target audience instead of let's just shoot the main demographic with this shit and see how that plays out, and it's not played out very fucking well. And then Miller,
Yeah.
for anybody that's unaware, a recent advertisement from Miller, which is actually predates the Dylan Mulvaney thing, has resurfaced in the past week. And if you watch it, the full advertisement's about 2 minutes long. And it's about how women made beer first and women. And so no more women in bikinis. So all those old Miller advertisements with women in bikinis, we want you to send those into us so we can destroy them and turn the bad shit into good shit. And they, of course, got a woman comedian to do it. So she did everything but say, my vagina, my period.
Which is,
which
in a weird way is, well, in a weird way, no, it is cringe, but also Joe Rogan brought this point up the other day. It's also in a weird way, it's demeaning to the women who posed for those ads too, right?
They shit on those women, and think about the amount of fucking effort that those women put in to be in the physical shape that they were. They couldn't have hairs out of place. They had to fucking look a certain way. They had to have certain diets. Like supermodels get there not just from like, oh, the world throws everything, at least the old school ones. It's just they were fabulous looking, right? And then on top of that, they still had to go through a whole bunch of other shit to make those things look as good as they did. This wasn't, to completely just dismiss that and all of the women involved with it is pretty fucked up. But also, what is wrong with women in bikinis? This is what I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, and believe it or not, some women, contrary to what the feminists like to say, there are women who like to be models and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's
lots of
this whole idea that toxic misogyny forced women to become like models and whatnot. It's like, no, that's
so
women like to be glamorous, and men like to look at glamorous women.
Every instance of shirtless, muscly, ripped men needs to be eliminated too. It's stupid. I'm not offended that He-Man exists, right? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I don't.
Yeah,
look, I'm not the best looking guy, and I'm not a ripped 6-pack fucking guy. But it doesn't bother me that those guys exist and get work for the fucking work they've put into their physique, and those women did too. It is a full-time job to look that good. It really is.
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me that like these feminists always talk about the male gaze, right, and how bad that is. But I can tell from experience, and seeing the way women look at Tom Brady, just as like an example, there is definitely a female gaze too. You know what? And like, I'm not offended that they're objectifying Tom Brady.
And Tom's not offended because he's still getting work, even though he can't fucking football anymore. Right? Like they'll like underwear modeling. Sure, why not? Like, who cares? Who cares? Mark Wahlberg was literally an underwear model. Is that the worst? Look, women, straight guys, like looking at hot chicks. Not sorry. Not sorry.
And straight women like looking at hot guys.
They
and
damn well do.
There's no reason for them to be sorry either.
No, nobody should be sorry about being attracted to somebody who is attractive. Right? Like, it's so fucking dumb, And I'm not like a fucking perv, right? I'm actually kind of a prude in my personal life. I don't like to talk about sexual stuff. Even my wife thinks I'm kind of a prude. But like, who fucking cares about some women in a bikini? It's whatever. So why would I drink Miller then if they're gonna play that woke game though? Fuck them. I drank Miller for years. My granddad. Funny you call it granddad beer. My granddad drank Miller. I think he drank Miller Light. It's like
still though.
Yeah, it's whatever, man.
If someone had told me 10 years ago that we would be having this that we would be conversing over adult beverage controversies, I would have scoffed.
Yep.
But
if you told me we'd be talking about Troonshine, I'd be it's just, what's a Troon? That's the other thing. That's the other thing is the younger guys, a lot of Zoomers I talk to seem to think like Troons were always around. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. They're not really around now. Like, you run into them so rarely outside of like a college campus or like a leftist city.
Well, that's the thing too, is people are like, oh, well, trans people have always existed. And it's like, okay, that might be, let's say for a sec that's true. Just because they've always existed doesn't mean that they, like, wasn't that, like,
they should be society's top priority, right?
Well, it's like they try and equivocate being trans to being black in America,
right? Because it's the new civil rights. This is the problem: is they all fetishize the civil rights movement, but they had nothing to fight for, so they made some shit up.
Right.
Perfect example: the Elephant Man. People with that condition have always existed, right? Or how about this? Crippled people with all different ailments have existed, right? But you rarely run into them, right? It's not something you see all the time.
And that's why it's really offensive that Sam pretends to be one.
Right, yeah, obviously.
Oh, not you too.
All I'm saying is there's a lot more cripples mentioned in the Bible than trannies.
Well, yeah, no. So it's interesting that you say that because like one of the things is people are always like, well, how do you feel about like disabled representation in film and television? And I'm like, what? Like, I don't think about that when I go to like, yeah, Professor X and like Daredevil are cool, but like, I don't think those characters are cool because they're handicapped. They're cool because of,
because they're good characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is like representation. I can identify with any main character if you tell a good story, right? Because there's certain things in the human condition that are universal. I always point to one of my favorite characters in Marvel canon, recently anyway, is Miles Morales Spider-Man. And I know people are like, oh, but that's the woke Spider-Man. But if you knew the history, if you knew what was actually under the hood there, that's not true at all. Miles Morales, came out a long time before anyone was woke. He came out before Obama was president, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
The idea
No,
was the alternate universe. They wanted someone that was young, and they wanted somebody that was into like urban, like hip hop culture. And so, of course, the odds are you're going to make him black or whatever. He's actually half black, half Hispanic. It doesn't really matter. But Miles Morales is a great character. If you read the original run or even watch the first Spider-Verse, I have not seen the second Spider-Verse movie. I don't know if it went off the deep end, but that first Spider-Verse movie is fantastic. And it's not about his race. It's about his uncle who dies. It's about his struggles trying to be Spider-Man when Spider-Man died. It's about him overcoming his insecurities. It's about him going on a fucking hero's journey. If you can't relate to that because he's not the same color as you, he's not the same gender as you, he's not the same sexuality as you, then there's something wrong with you, not me, because I can relate to him. Even though I'm not black, right? Like Miles Morales is a good character.
My introduction to Miles, really, like I had heard of him, but my introduction to him, like as a character, was in the Insomniac Spider-Man game.
I also haven't played that, so I can't comment. But
well, hopefully they'll be releasing that for PC soon-ish.
It's out on PC, but I wish they would bundle the two games together. I'd probably buy that. They want me to pay full price for an 8-hour game, and it's not going to happen.
I'm sure they will, but like my point is like that's how they introduced that's how I was introduced to Miles, right. And like they write him more as like Spider-Man's protege because in this universe Peter Parker is still alive and just like meets like his dad, who's the cop, still dies, like helping Peter on a case,
right?
And so Miles becomes his own Spider-Man.
So it takes place.
Dad.
It takes place before Peter dies, essentially. Yeah, that's cool. Like,
yeah.
If you haven't seen the first Into the Spider-Verse movie, I highly recommend it. It's a great Spider-Man story. And in the parallels between his story and Peter Parker are done on purpose, and they're drawn attention to. Like some of the panels, I say panels because I'm thinking comic, but some of the panels correspond almost 1-to-1 to that original first run of Spider-Man #1 from 1967.
Oh, the Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yeah. You see the there's it throws back to several different ones, right? But you see it actually shows a panel at one point of Peter Parker crawling out the window of his apartment to hide, and Miles doing exactly the same thing, right? His story parallels Peter right down to the fact that his uncle gets killed in almost the same manner. You know, it's so if you like Spider-Man, it's a great fucking story. And if you're like, oh, well, he's black, I can't relate to it. Well, I think you might have something wrong with you. And likewise, if you say I can't relate to Peter Parker because he's white, well, I'm going to tell you every black kid in my neighborhood, and there's a couple, love Peter Parker. Okay. So they love Iron Man. They love the Hulk, right? And they don't give a fuck. The Hulk's green, right? They don't care. It's stupid, and that's always how it's been. Nobody fucking cared about that. If the story's good, you can relate to the character.
When the Daredevil Netflix series came out, like I had read a lot of the Daredevil comic books, but like a lot of my normie friends who had never really interacted with Daredevil loved the Daredevil Netflix series, even though they weren't raised Catholic, they didn't really get the symbolism in Daredevil. They still loved it because it was well written.
Yeah. So, I mean, I identify with the fucking Crow, but nobody's ever killed my fucking fiance. right? Like,
I
it just, if you can't see, this is the thing is I honestly think these leftists lack empathy entirely, because if you
yeah,
can't
no,
relate on the basic universal human things that these stories represent, then that means there's something missing in you. And I think it's empathy.
no, yeah, they do. They totally lack empathy. It's all about what is my plight, and like,
Yeah.
you know, like I struggle with, like, you know, having a physical disability, and yet like I have empathy for, you know, people with different disabilities, and, you know, ones that like, and people that aren't disabled but have other struggles
Well, it's even more than that, though.
too.
It's even more than that. Peter Parker, not only, not only is he not disabled like you, right? He's got phenomenal extra powers. And yet,
Right.
you're a fan of the comic and you relate because he goes through struggles that anyone can understand. It's simple. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, I can't juggle my career and my school and being a superhero. Well, change out to being a superhero. It's still fucking relatable, right? It's
Oh well. Oh well. I'm the nerdy kid who got, you know, who gets bullied at school. Oh wow, that's,
I
you know.
really like this girl, but it's hard to get her to notice me. Yeah, that's no one can
Yeah.
fucking relate to that, right? Give me a fucking break.
No.
Representation, the whole
Yeah.
representation argument is bullshit. I not only can relate, I wanted that Black Panther movie so fucking bad. It should have come out years before it did because it would have been way less political. It's still a good film, but like, I've always read Black Panther. Black Panther's a great character.
Yeah. The problem with Black Panther, and I'm not saying this about the movie. The problem with the marketing was that like a lot of BLM people got behind it as like the black superhero movie. Meanwhile, the rest of us were like, Scott, Blade.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but no, Black Panther is a fantastic character, and I can understand even them being like, oh, I relate just a little bit more because he's black or whatever. But here's the thing: the average American black person, do they actually have a lot in common with T'Challa? Like, this is a guy from a fictional country in Africa who doesn't culturally share any of their values, and it's even expressed in the movie, right? Because who's the villain? Killmonger, who's a American city guy who wants to fucking kill all the white people. And Black T'Challa's like, that's stupid, and they fucking fight over it. Like, no,
yeah.
the fucking the racist was the bad guy. That's what they don't get, you know? And that, again, was relatable to everybody because anybody can understand, like, this guy's just a bad person, right? And T'Challa is a good person. He's a good king. He's a good person, and he does good as a superhero. If, again, it's relatable. It's
Yeah.
they miss all this. They don't see the forest for the trees, and it's a shame. They're missing out.
Yeah, identity politics, like in our efforts to make each other like more aware, quote unquote, of our identities, so to speak, with identity politics. I think they actually made us less aware of, like, they've segregated us more as a result of identity politics.
I have
Like,
one here. I don't know how well the audience can see it, but I want to bring this up because I saw this today. There was a story about a guy in Canada got arrested for giving out Bibles, right? And this was one of the replies, and I feel like, ignoring the context of the story, this is modern politics in a nutshell right here. The first person says, why do religious people feel the need to force their religion on everyone? And the response is, why do trans people feel the need to force their delusion on everyone? And that's where we're at. That this is the discourse of the day.
Yeah. Essentially, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and you know, I can actually empathize with both people on that. You know, strangely enough, I do know what it's like to have really pushy religious people tell you that your choices in your lifestyle are bad, but that doesn't mean that I'm okay with you waving your girl cock in children's face, right? Like there's a balance there. Nobody wants to take the nuanced position because it doesn't get you clicks, it doesn't get you retweets, it gets you fucking not noticed at all.
Right, and that's why, you know, kind of going back to one of the things that our pal, you know, friend of the show Mersh likes to say is, oh well, Sam, you're just not good at doing this podcast thing. No, Mersh, you might make more money than I do, but let me tell you, a lot of people that do that type of podcast, it's all outrage, it's all clickbaity. Yeah, that shit makes money. Unfortunately, the nuance at this time,
but it's destroying society at the same time.
Yeah.
Get your fucking donations while you fucking drive a bigger and bigger wedge into society, and then you circle jerk and justify to you, oh well, when the fucking things collapse, it'll be so much better. No, a big fat motherfucker like him is gonna be dead. Most of you motherfuckers will be dead. You root for a civil war, you think it's Fallout and you're a superhero, and that's not how it works.
Yeah, no. Well, the other thing too is like, yeah, this podcast is, you know, more nuanced. It's not, you know, as quote unquote flashy, so to speak. But I think we're getting to a point now where more people, like, our time is going to come. I mean, it's already kind of there. People want nuanced, you know, conversation, as evidenced by all the appearances that Tucker Carlson has made. I mean, Max, I know you don't like him necessarily, but I will say this. I think even all of the stuff with like Robert Kennedy Jr. making all these podcast appearances has been pretty good, because he's like one of the people on the left who's actually nuanced and willing to like discuss shit.
Well, you know,
and whatnot.
Personally, he's a Kennedy, right? And that's a distaste for me off the bat. But I will say this. I think the left, the Bluenons, are kind of right about him. They just think that he knows it. He is driving a wedge on the left. He very much is. Now, how far that wedge can be driven, I don't know. And is that his intention to, you know, screw over the Democrats so that Trump gets in? No, I don't think that's it. I think the guy has honest beliefs. I think some of the basically most of them are fucking crazy. And I know some people be like, oh, the vax stuff. It's nothing to do with that. I mean, he wants to ban all guns, for one. So you want to vote for him because he's anti-vax? Well, he takes your gun. Okay. He wants a single payer healthcare system. He's big on trans rights, you know, like, look, he's not for me, and he's not for most of the people who actually get behind him, because they're so short-sighted that they're like, oh, well, he's right on some COVID stuff, so that's enough. But he is driving a wedge on the left, and because there's a bunch of people on the left that don't agree with all the lockdownerism. They just don't. I know this. Normies got very sick of masking after about a year, right? And if you, I mentioned it off air, and it's not like a big deal. I went to an event at my son's school today. There was a concert. It's like the coming to the end of the year kind of thing. So they had the parents come in. How many people do you think were wearing masks? Mind you, I'm in a blue state, Massachusetts. What do you think? What do you think the
None.
ratio was? There was one. There was one, and literally her name is Karen. But no, that's where we're at. Like leftists didn't like lockdown. Nobody liked being locked down. The only people that did probably are already isolated themselves. You know, they're probably not outgoing people to begin with. But I sure as fuck didn't, and everybody I know didn't. And as soon as they said no more masks, everybody threw them the fuck away. Nobody carries them around. Like you still have to, if you go into like a doctor's office or a hospital, you got to wear one. But everybody's just like, oh, well, you got to give me one. I don't fucking keep these things anymore. Who the fuck keeps masks? You know.
Well, me, I'm a real home. I mean, I'm a real homebody. I'm good to just kind of chill at home. So like when the pandemic first happened, I was like, okay, this is no biggie.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was the length.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, even people who like to stay at home got pissed because it was like, okay, now I'm being told I have to stay inside. I no longer have the option of going outside. So
Well, and everything's closed. All the
Yeah.
normal thing, literally all of society grinds to a fucking halt. And so eventually that's going to, like, even if you're the most homebody person out there, eventually it affected everybody in some way.
Oh yeah.
And they got sick of it. And now everybody's like, fuck your masks. I don't want them anymore. The booster shot was a massive failure. Massive failure. Like they are still trying to figure out what to do now because the booster, nobody wants the booster. Why? You know, like a lot of people will say, oh, they figured out this game. No, most normal people, you know what they'll say? Well, they told me it's just another shot of the same shit. So when they come out with a new one, I'll go get it. That's what most people say.
Well, we were told that we would never need, boosters initially.
Right. But we certainly didn't need the booster the way they did it because they just said, oh, we'll just give them another shot of the same shit. Well, that's not what a booster is. Right? That's never been what a booster is. Your yearly flu shot is a different fucking strain of the flu every fucking year. Right? So nobody wanted the fucking booster except people who wanted to virtue signal. Right? And that's who's wearing the masks still. It's middle-aged cat ladies who want a virtue signal. Literally named Karen, which I just had to share because that was the funniest fucking thing ever. There's like 500 people in a place. What's your mask gonna do, Karen? You fucking dumb bitch. 500 people and then like another 500 children actually.
When I had COVID a few weeks ago, or I should say like last week when I got it, when I was cleared and my stepdad, I mean, so he actually just turned 70 today. So happy birthday to John. If you are on Rumble and watching this, I know that he subbed, so yeah, I guess my stepdad at least does watch the show somewhat, but
well, that's a big milestone and a big happy birthday to him. That's a big one.
Yeah, when he when I had COVID, he stayed with one of our neighbors because obviously for him it's more of a risk. But once I was cleared and he came home, the CDC website recommends that you wear a mask for a week. And when he got home, like I put I have a bandana that I wore during COVID, and he told me to take it off because he's like, you don't need to wear that because it's not gonna. You're already clear, and besides, it's not gonna
Because you already took reasonable precautions, and now they're asking you to take kind of unreasonable precautions, right? In his mind, at least.
Yeah, well, one in mine, I was kind of like, oh, okay, you don't mind?
Well, you're trying to be polite, you know.
Yeah,
I get it.
but once he said you don't have to wear it, I'm like, oh, thank God. So
Yeah, nobody fucking like those things. And that's why there's going to be a portion of the left that will support RFK. Also, he's a Kennedy, and like there's a fucking. They have hero worship for JFK, whether right or wrong. And yeah, he's a bit of a spoiler on the left, I think. He will eat into Biden's votes, especially if they have an open primary. But I don't think they're gonna, because they got super delegates and they'll just shut him
no,
down. They're just gonna shut it down. It's not gonna happen.
yeah, they'll do what they do with Tulsi.
Or Bernie, or anybody else that they don't like. We don't have the super delegate problem, so anybody that gets in, there's a good potential if you got enough votes. But the only one right now that was getting enough votes to have a primary on the right was DeSantis, and now Trump is just whooping his ass in the polls because, like I said, he's been making bad mistakes. He's thinks he's bigger than he really is. He thinks he's bigger than Trump. That's a fucking huge mistake to make. And at home as governor, he's made some questionable decisions, particularly the anti-BDS legislation. Now, hey, I am not a big fan of the BDS movement. I think that boycotting Israel is dumb, but that's me, right? However, saying that they're not allowed to boycott its hate speech is ridiculous. And then on top of that, it includes some things like, Sam, it's a crime in your state to say it's okay to be white or to post it or anything like that. That is a crime now. An actual crime.
Oh, okay. I hope that's not retroactive to like.
No, I don't think it is. And they're saying, oh, it's only specifically for this flyering or whatever. But like, how this kind of shit is. You're gonna get that one leftist prosecutor in Miami-Dade County, and he's gonna arrest somebody because they said faggot or something, right? So he's opened up the door to the most anti-free speech legislation in American history. That is coming home to roost. A lot of people don't like that.
It's like the old Far Side cartoon of two guys in jail, and one guy asks, "What are you in here for?" I raped a woman and then I killed her afterwards. What about you? I tweeted it's okay to be white.
Yeah, it's absurd. And these again, E-Verify, maybe that's popular. As I understand it, in polling, it's very popular in Florida. But give it a year, give it 2 years, give it 10 years. And it's like I said, when people are going to jump through all those hoops and they're going to see the illegal problem is not going away, suddenly that policy looks really, really bad. It's one of those things. So yeah, Trump, after that town hall, Trump is now up by 40 points on DeSantis. So even if DeSantis gets in, if that polling that polling can change, obviously there's a long way to go in the next couple months before they decide this. But let's say it stays at Trump plus 40 points. DeSantis doesn't have enough to even get the debate. So that means nobody has enough to get the debate. That means Trump doesn't have to have a debate. That means you don't even have to have a fucking primary. In a lot of states, not all, but a lot of states, if there is one clear winner, they can just declare, especially if that winner is considered the party incumbent, which Trump is, whether people like it or not. He is the party incumbent.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, DeSantis, and look, I've been hard on DeSantis all along, but this is his own doing. He's gone far beyond anything I was complaining about. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, no, he does a good job as governor. Then he drops this hate speech legislation. Then he's doing this. Then it's like, oh man. All right,
yeah,
Ron.
Yeah, yeah, and even I, I've defended DeSantis, even against you and Shmuley. But like, yeah, the hate speech thing, I what the fuck,
And then
Ron?
to sign it in Jerusalem, it's like, you're a governor, bro. Like, what are you doing? I get he wanted that like optics or whatever, but like that just seems in really poor taste.
Well,
People,
yeah.
look, Florida's doing better than a lot of places, but you will be the first to admit what I'm about to say is true. There are people suffering in your state, Ron. There are people that need you at home, and you're out there signing hate speech legislation in Jerusalem. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, and I mean, I didn't want to make this joke, but it's true. Ron, listen, there are a lot of Jews in Florida. Like,
yeah, you could.
Yeah, there are a lot. So why are you leaving the state, like, to do this when there's a large Jewish community like right here in Florida?
And I bet you they have a lot of other concerns that you could be addressing as well.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this: one of my neighbors, and I feel the same way. We're kind of a little miffed with Ron right now because one of the things that DeSantis said, it got very little news, it got very little like press coverage, and I suspect now DeSantis or someone in the Republican Party is trying to bleach this from the internet. But DeSantis, when he was running for re-election, he said, "I'm not running for president. My only goal is to, like, at this time at least, my only goal is to finish out my term, and then we'll see where we're at in 2028, if But like now, it seems like he's gearing up for the presidency after he told us he wasn't going to."
I think he was. I think if he's looking at poll numbers now, he's if he doesn't announce, I'm going to call it here. If he doesn't announce within the next 60 days, he's not running. Maybe less time than that. But if he doesn't announce by July, he's not running. Right. And good. He shouldn't. Like, he should understand and what he could then do to build himself up would be to endorse Trump or not, or go against Trump. I guess that probably wouldn't work out in his favor. I'm telling you, if he runs, that won't work out in his favor. Like, that will ruin him. All these doomers on Twitter don't understand that the Trump demographic aren't on Twitter.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, let's say he didn't want to endorse Trump or whatever, right? Because Trump's too crass, or whatever the reason is. If he didn't want to endorse Trump, it would be better for him just not to say anything at all, to just stay neutral.
I think this, though. I think if he even did that, in any way not endorse. So Trump's the nominee. He's not running. If he does not endorse Trump, that is potentially career suicide. Like, if he actually plans on running in the future, he needs to endorse Trump. But that puts him in a corner because a lot of the shit that he said, a lot of the criticisms, he has to either factor it in and be like, well, I'm going to hold my nose and vote for Trump. And that doesn't make him look good, especially in Florida, man. Like, you want to talk about like Trump country? Fuck, man. There's no more Trump country than Florida.
Yeah, that's true. MAGA country all the way.
So. I don't know. I don't know what his deal is at this point. I feel like he's got some people in his ear telling him some things, and he's listening to maybe the wrong people.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean,
I know he brought Jeb in as an advisor at one point. That's just bring in a Bush. Everybody loved Jeb running for president, and even more so, they loved him as fucking governor in Florida. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
can't-
Well,
I can't think of a more well-known and more unpopular governor than fucking Jeb Bush.
Yeah. No. Even like conservatives in Florida, like before Trump ran in 2016. Like even when I first moved here and didn't know anything about politics, and I asked about Jeb Bush to other Republicans, I was kind of expecting them to be like, oh yeah, he was okay, but instead I got, haha, you must be new here
Yeah.
if you think, and it was like, well, yes, in fact I am
Well, it's like
new here.
it's like me, right? Being right-leaning, registered Republican at this point, not always. In Massachusetts, you would think, oh, well, the last two Massachusetts governors who were Republican, he must think very highly of. No, I hate them. Both of them. Despise. Because it's Mitt Romney and Charlie Baker. And by the way, don't count Charlie Baker running for president off the fucking table. That motherfucker, that was his whole fucking plan. And he is the worst lockdowner fucking governor on the Republican side by far.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you hear about Charlie Baker, tell him to go fuck himself. But what I'm saying is, we got the same sentiment here. Like, you'd think I would like the Republican governors to some degree, right? But I actually hate that. I hate Charlie Baker way more than I hate Deval Patrick. Or the new lady there. The new lady banned fucking semi-autos at one point when she was attorney general. And I still find her less detestable than Charlie Baker because at least she stabs me in my front.
Yeah.
But, we'll get there. We'll get there. I do think I can feel it, though. I talk to normal people. I talk to union guys, construction workers. I'm talking to parents. And it's not even a, like, let's go Trump. It's a fuck Joe Biden. That's just, you can taste it. They hate him.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll see. But I feel really good about it. I think we're taking America back.
Yeah, hopefully we will. I'm sure we will. So we're gonna have to put in the effort, though, for sure, and actually get out there.
Yeah, but the energy's there. The energy is there, and it's organic, right? It's people like sick and tired of paying 3 times the cost for regular fucking grocery. Or in the case of eggs, what was it, like 10 times the cost?
Yeah, I'm glad we have chickens now. That's for sure.
Yeah, that kind of shit affects people, though. So we'll see.
So
we've long since run out of news, I think.
Well, we began the show. Oh, I'm not sure we'll have much to talk about. 3 hours, literally 3 hours later, we're
There's
just
always
now
something.
winding down the show. No commercials either.
We even lost Smugly.
We did. I think maybe Mega News Network got to him a bit. So
It happens, man. That MAGA News Network goes hard on Shmooly. It's crazy.
but we love the lad. So well, I can't think of any. I think we covered everything and then some. Anything you want to bring up?
Not at the moment. I'm got a couple plans going forward. I want to burn a pride flag for Pride Month, but I'm not sure if that's a step too far or will get us in trouble anywhere. So if that doesn't come through, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but I thought it would be ironic because they have no problem burning the American flag. So
yeah, well, both are protected well, one is protected under the Constitution.
No, both. You can totally burn a pride flag under the Constitution, and you can totally burn the U.S. flag under the Constitution. But one of them upsets them, and that tells you what their loyalty is. The other one they're fine with. Other than that, I got nothing. We keep it on. We're glad to have you back in the swing of things after your illness.
Yeah, still got a little bit of lingering off, but I'm getting rid of that. So, slowly but surely. So yeah, folks, we'll talk down the road. Hopefully, we'll get some guests on. But man, oh man, is it challenging. But we'll get people in here sooner rather than later. Hopefully. So
hopefully our filler shows are good.
Yeah. Until next week, have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll be back next week, ladies and gentlemen. So God bless and all that jazz.
Thanks for listening to The Whitfield Report on the NGC Network. Please visit Sam's website at www.thesamwhitfield.com and support Sam on Patreon at patreon.com/Whitfield Report. Until next time, God bless, God save this great nation, and God, freedom, legacy, in that order.